And we are back. Couch Company Podcast. It's been a while, but I am still John, and with me, as always, is still Tyler.
I was thinking about changing my name.
That would have thrown me off.
Bruno.
And I know what everyone's thinking. We've been away for a while, so we had to come back strong, and we did with two of my very favorite people. We have Jeff. What's up, Jeff?
Hello. I am thrilled to be here.
I know. Jeff just makes me energized, man, every time he walks in the room. And we got Nate as well.
Hi.
Nate makes me feel energized
Yes, he
every
does.
time he walks in.
I can tell.
I can't hear you guys, so I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
but
we gave them to the guests.
we did give them to the guests.
Guest rule.
Guest rule, host rule. Anyways, we have a special episode today. Very personal, I would say.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the world of video games, it's the most personal you can get.
And we're still trying to convince everyone that we're a video game podcast.
That's what the algorithm says.
That's what the algorithm says, and algorithms dictate the world.
I am told by Spotify we are not allowed to change.
Absolutely.
So we are a video game podcast.
So, to save time, we're just going to get into it. We're doing our top 25 favorite video games.
Yes, of all time. So
all
this
time.
covers platforms, devices. I guess it's kind of a platform.
Consoles, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think this will be mentioned a lot, but it should be stated that, by no means are these the greatest games of all time. Although I am sure that a lot of them will be in that conversation. These are personal to us. We're going to see why we like these games that, I'm actually really excited for the games that I have no idea what they are. Because there's like a bunch of mine that I bet none of you will know. So those are the tidbits I'm excited for. So that's pretty much what we're doing. You want to go over the format, Tyler, since you're usually our rules person?
Yeah, so I didn't make these rules, so keep me honest. We took a consensus. We were divided basically, but everyone picked a different thing. So,
which is a great start for a four-man
we
podcast.
did a compromise. We did a compromise. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around the horn. Everyone is going to list off their 25th favorite through their 11th favorite.
Yep.
So, John, me, Jeff, and Nate. Guess didn't want to go first.
Right, but you got the order on
that
it.
privilege.
It's me, then Jeff, then Nate, then Tyler.
Okay. And then we're going to do our top 10.
Yep, so we're going around the horn twice.
Yes.
Any questions from anyone?
No questions, but I just want to comment on how excited I am that this is the top, like you said, favorite, and not the greatest of all time. Because coming in and when you first sent me that text message, you were like, we want you to come on. Would you be interested? I was so ecstatic because I didn't want to come on here and debate like, this is why this game is the greatest of all time versus this system. And they're not games that I necessarily may like,
right?
But I have to respect what they did.
Absolutely.
But this list is, I can pick whatever I want.
Exactly.
Which is amazing. So thank you for letting me be here.
Of course, Jeff. And the thing is, too, is everyone's list is correct, right?
Yes.
So that's the amazing part of this.
There's no fighting here.
There's
it's
no
just going to be...
Well.
We'll see.
Did you see Dwayne's face when he saw
That's
my list?
true,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there might be.
We gave a few people some sneak peeks, and their judgment has made me change my list a little bit.
Same. No. When you're embarrassed to hand your phone to someone to see your list, you're like, okay, I got to move some spots. Yeah. Stayed on, but I had to move some spots. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to lead off here because our guests did not want to go first. And I did look over at Jeff's iPad. He's got just paragraphs that's ready to go. And I just have 25 games.
I would pull the mic a little closer, though. We can get every luscious word.
Every drop of Jeff. All right, so I'm just going to start. I have one honorable mention. We're going to get to Tyler. He has a bit more than that. But my honorable mention, which will immediately make Tyler upset, is Hades. And
okay, well, I take it back. I thought we weren't going to fight, but apparently we're just going to throw down.
One game in.
No, this is great.
Okay, so
great.
Look. Hades is a fantastic game. One of the greatest games ever made, I would say. But it just didn't have that connection with me as some of these other games had. And it's not that I didn't enjoy it either. It's like you look at all these games you played, you have to list 25 of them. Like you'd think that'd be a lot, and it's actually insanely hard. And you're just taking games off that you love, and it's like We'll get to your honorable mentions, okay? So you understand how I feel here. So Hades, fantastic. It's better than a lot of these games on my list. Just didn't crack.
So you're saying you're missing the connection, and that's
I didn't have as much of a connection.
Yeah,
and it wasn't as personal to me. I still loved the game, and it was a lot of fun, but it didn't make the list.
One thing I'm going to be interested in as we go around is how many modern games are on people's lists. And how many, like what percentage?
Yeah.
And then what percentage is
what
all
define
like,
modern era?
I'm talking it past 360 era.
Past 360, yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Like whatever past like our prime is, whenever we were like getting home from school and playing video games like crazy, I'm talking like in the past maybe like 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my list, and I feel like it's pretty well rounded, coming from 1990s all the way up to the present. I don't know about your guys, but
keep teasing, man.
I mean, I'm excited to hear everyone's. You know my feelings.
Yeah. We'll see how balanced.
Right,
I think it is balanced, but we'll see. All right, so
kick it off.
I'm just to make sure, I'm just gonna go down, and then we'll just start to dissect. All right,
sure.
So at 25, I have James Bond 007 Nightfire, dude, on the GameCube. This was an amazing game. 24, Madden NFL 08. In my opinion, the best Madden. Number 23, 3-on-3 NHL Arcade on the Xbox.
Sensing a theme. Okay.
360 Arcade or whatever. Yeah. 22, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 Classic. 21, which is the only racing game on here, Burnout Revenge. Everyone's blank expressions. Okay, you got it.
So you're talking the original, not the remake.
Yeah.
Right.
There was a remake?
Yeah.
Recently?
This
was on the PS2.
No. I'm thinking,
this was on the PS2.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking Paradise.
You're thinking Paradise. Okay. 20, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
Ooh.
It's my favorite one in that series. Tyler disagrees, and I think he's absolutely wrong.
I don't disagree.
You like Odyssey or something.
Oh, you mean of all Assassin's Creed? I vehemently disagree.
That's wrong. We'll get into it. 19, Shadow of War, which I played recently. Yeah. So pretty big impression. 18, NFL Street. Fantastic game. 17, Ruined King, a League of Legends story, which is the game that came out this year. Yeah. So good.
Wow.
16, did you play that, Jeff?
I have, but I'm surprised it made.
I loved it.
Okay,
I
didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
It connected. That's
what it's all about.
Not as much as Hades, but it connected. Yeah, it must be great,
dude. We'll just get it. All right, so 16, Churro Q. Exactly. Yep. 15, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses. 14, Gears of War 3. 13, Bloons TD6. 12, Battlefield 3. Specifically, and 11 is Halo Reach. Halo Reach.
Okay.
Halo Reach. Questions?
So I saw this meme the other day, and this isn't a question, but it was a list of like all the Pokemon games that have come out. And it started with Pokemon Red and Blue, and it went down the list, and it said, "This is what your favorite Pokemon game says about you. Yeah. You're in your 30s. You're in your late 20s." You're in your early 20s. You're in your late teens. And I just was listening to John read his list, and I was like, So we're going to be going through all of these, and we're going to be seeing how old everybody in the group is.
Oh, for sure. Well, for instance, with Gears of War 3, did you play them in order? Like when they came out? Like were you
I played Gears of War 2
first,
and then 3, and then I later on went back and played the original.
Gotcha.
I think Gears of War 3 is a far superior game to the second one.
Interesting.
Because in the second one, if you remember, it was Nasher or bust. And that was so unfun. Like, if you weren't good with the Nasher, you just couldn't play the game. And I actually enjoyed the story in 3 as well more because I liked the characters more. Mm-hmm. I don't think there was 4-player in 2, but there was 4-player in 3. So that was like a big change. And I remember we would all play... Like, there was 4 of us that played on Insanity or whatever and beat Gears 3. Also, I really liked the achievement system, all the badges and stuff and skins you can unlock for all the weapons. I thought it was so well done, and I just had a blast, unlocking all that stuff for, getting kills or executions. They had all the special executions. I thought it was so good.
Jeff, I was seeing your face go off on some of these that I never even heard of.
I think what I appreciate so much about John's list is hearing the just sheer amount of sports games on it. And I think I heard you mention NFL Street.
Yeah.
Like, and that made me connect with like NBA Jam of like my generation, or some of these throwback or NFL Blitz, for N64 with Cordell Stewart on the cover. So I found it really interesting, the amount of sports games and even a racing game on your list. And I'm looking at my list and I don't have any of that. And so I'm almost curious as to why those sports games connected with you so much, or even like a Yu-Gi-Oh game.
So the sports have always been really important in my life. So naturally I was drawn to sports games. But another facet of that is, much like Tyler's childhood, my parents were very restrictive about what I was allowed to play. So a lot of the early games were like sports games. So that's all I had access to. So these were the games. But NFL Street, I love that game because it's that perfect combination of sports, but like ridiculous, like people getting thrown around, NFL Blitz. It's like the same thing. People just getting absolutely decimated, like superhuman, jumping into the sky, like intercepting. It was so fun. And honestly, I went back and played it recently, which I have for a lot of these games, and it holds up extremely well. Like the game's still super fun to this day. So, I mean, that's that, but Burnout Revenge, that was an interesting one because a lot of people who know me might think that Forza would be my favorite racing game because it's realistic and real cars and everything like that, which is definitely fair, and I love the cars. But there was something about that arcade style, putting people into the wall and they blow up, and like you just see your meter go up and you just fucking hypercharge, and it was just adrenaline city. The soundtrack was on point. Like I still listen to those songs to this day. It was just testosterone city, and I just love that game. Plus there's a lot of cool side games as well. Like they had this one thing where I think it was called like Demolition Derby, where you send your car off like a cliff or like a ramp, and you can just see how much destruction you do in the city. Like things are blowing up, and it is the like most fun game mode. So that's why I picked Revenge. A lot of things on my list too. Nate was talking about age. This is pretty interesting. Is that I think some of my picks are like the one after the most popular one in the series, I would say. So like, I think GoldenEye is like the most popular James Bond game, but I was too young for that. So Nightfire is the one I played and I really liked. So that's the one that was on my list.
Like, oh no, you got a technically superior game.
Right. And the same thing with like Burnout, because I think Burnout 3 was like the most popular.
I think Paradise would be is that 3?
I tend to remember 3 as the most popular as well, and I think Paradise
was after John's game. That was 360 era, not PlayStation.
Right, and Revenge was the one right after 3. So I just missed that boat, but that's the game I connected with. So those are a lot of mine.
I'm fixated on Churro or whatever it was called. The little like a racer, isn't it? Like a little like it's almost like smart cars running around, and that was a GameCube game.
Did it come in like
I've never seen it played. Know nothing about it. The only thing is, I would go over. So John's my younger cousin. I'd go over their house every once in a while, and they had a GameCube, and they would have this list of games, and there was like 3 games at the top, and the other ones were stacked in like a corner off to the side and never played. And it was like Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, this Churro, and then whatever like the new game was at the time. And I remember like always asking about what the game was. Never played it with him because I had no interest, but it's like some little Japanese like car racing game, and his parents, got it for him because I guess they connected with it in some way. So I'm surprised that's on there, but at the same time, not.
Let me tell you guys about Churro.
Let's hear it.
This is it. So my parents lived in Japan for a while for work, so a lot of my early childhood stuff was Japanese influence. Like I have a ton of Pokemon cards in Japanese, and a lot of the games I played were from Japan, like really popular. So Churro is a very popular series in Japan, and it is a racer, but it's an RPG. So it's literally like Cars, where cars talk to each other and stuff, except they don't have faces and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's an RPG, but you're like this, this new guy in the racing scene, and like you're like making your way up, and you're talking to people and making friends and upgrading yourself. It's like this RPG, but you're a car. It's amazing.
Wait till you learn about Need for Speed.
Dude, it also made me cry. It was very sad.
Oh.
It's like an anime, too. Yeah, because I don't think any of you play it. Your best friend, who's a car, and he's like, it was your dream to be in the pro circuit together, and you finally achieved that dream, and he got hurt. And then he's in the hospital. He's like, you got to win this one for me. And you do, and then he dies.
Yeah, his name's Goose.
His name is
really
his name is like Bert or something.
Bert.
Is there a manga? Can I read this somewhere?
There probably is a manga of Truckee. I'm not even lying. I guarantee there probably is.
Wow.
But it was such a good game, man.
I'm sorry, what was the platform that this was on?
This was on PlayStation 2.
So there's probably an emulation somewhere.
I've gone back and played it since. Yes. Yes. So that was really good. Okay, a couple more things I just want to touch on. I know, we want to be sensitive to time.
You got plenty of time. You're good.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay. So this is another one where, I missed the most popular one. So you guys remember Forbidden Memories? Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories? Anyone play that?
He's getting a lot of blank stares here.
I know for a fact Nate played it, so I don't know why he's not helping
Nate's
me out
being
here.
too cool for that.
But
I did not. Abby was big into Duelist of the Roses, though.
Yeah. So anyways, this one... The first one, Forbidden Memories, was actually the card game, the rules, same rules and everything. But this one was unlike any card game I've ever played. I think this is the best card game ever made because it is like a board game.
Yeah.
It's kind of like chess where you're on a board, okay, and you have your deck, and then you play cards face down, and then you move them on a board like chess pieces.
I was going to say, have you played chess?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I'm trying to,
chess,
grids.
right? Where you take the cards and then you deal
I'm
those
saying
out.
I get you. I'm get you in the...
So this did not follow the Yu-Gi-Oh! Scheme.
No. It was just like the cards. But the attacks and stuff were the same, where they had attack, defense, and abilities. But it was on a board, and then the board had grids, and each of those grids had terrain. So if I had a grass guy on a forest tile, he got a buff. And then he could, when I flip him up, he can move further and stuff. So he gets bonuses.
Yeah.
So it's all this, it's like a strategy game, card game, board game. It was so nuts. It was so much fun.
It sounds like you want to play Advance Wars.
All right, anyways.
It's a great game. Yeah.
What else did I touch on? Dragon Ball Z. I think everyone played a Dragon Ball Z game when they were a kid, right? So that's the one I liked. You never did?
No.
None of them?
No, Fighters
Fighter Z?
Fighter Z is the only one I ever played.
Those are newer ones, right? That's 360 era?
No,
that's the
newer than that.
newest one.
Yeah.
That's the actual fighting game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you like that one?
Nope.
All right.
Kakarot was good.
Actually, I lied. There was one where you flew around.
Oh, yeah, you did play that.
Where we played another
No,
one.
Xenoverse.
Yeah. I
Where
didn't
you
like
got
that
to
one
make your
either.
own. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
So the reason there was two main ones back in the day. There was Budokai Tenkaichi, and then there was also just Budokai, I think, was another one. The Budokai one was more like a fighting game, and this one was more like a brawler. Mm-hmm. And I liked this one because it had 200 characters. Every character in Dragon Ball Z was in this game. You could play as the one guy from episode 28 in the original Dragon Ball who sells Goku a hot dog. You know what I mean? It was unreal. So I liked that one a lot.
sounds like a Lego game.
Yeah, well, I'm actually surprised I don't have any Lego games on here.
Yeah, they never really connected.
I have never played a Lego.
Whoa, that's surprising.
You're not missing out.
Yikes! Everyone does like.
Yeah,
I think the Lego games were fun.
Yeah,
I remember playing them as a kid. Is there anything else I want to touch on here? I think that's. I know Jeff kind of did a double take on Ruined King. I thought it was fantastic.
I'm not knocking it at all. I had a great time with it.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that this modern game showed up on your list. I guess I did not know what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, League of Legends is such a big game for me that that game in any other medium or form on obviously
you're there for it.
I'm there for it, exactly. It draws my attention. So Arcane came out and it's one of the best shows I've ever watched. But it was actually good.
So when you were putting your list together,
yeah,
were you, because obviously a lot of this is from childhood, the emotions, the connections, things like that.
Yep.
Do you feel that your what you look for in a game has changed since then? That's the thing that I was getting hung up on, where it's okay, when I was a kid, I really liked this
Yeah.
because of X, Y, Z or whatever.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, I don't. And like there are some games that actually left the list because it wasn't lining up and stuff. So like, do you feel like you shifted it all, or is it kind of the same?
I probably have. I would go back and play all of these games though, and maybe that's partially nostalgia based, but I really think they all I actually liked them all, and I still do. So I might look for different things, but I don't know. It's kind of all over the place. It's hard to like spot a trend because they're all like super wild. But the interesting thing is like when you're a kid, you don't have a lot of choice on what you have to play, right? So you're kind of forced into these specific games, and I think that influences you a lot, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I think that has something to do with it. Bloons Tower Defense 6 is fantastic. One of the best games ever made. So
I don't know if somebody's keeping like track of time, but I think we're at like 20 now, aren't we?
We're at 21.
21 for the first 15 of John's.
Yes.
And we're doing a half hour-ish of each. Mm-hmm. Do we want to go through the rest, or do we want to...
No, I really want to dissect. We can go through the rest. I'm sorry, Nate.
No, what I'm saying is, do we want to go through the rest of his and just top off the half hour, or do we want to turn around? Because here's the thing. If we're doing 30 minutes each, John has 9 minutes whenever we get to his top 10, and we're going to have to basically restart his whole psyche.
We could just, I think we could top them off. Unless
okay,
you want.
I can keep going.
All right, fair enough.
All right. So
instant gratification. That's what we call that.
Yeah. Top 10 then? Am I just doing it? I'm ripping it off?
Going all the way up.
All right, number 10, Backyard Baseball 2001.
Is that PC?
Yes. On the Macintosh, if you will.
Classic.
Number 9, Persona 4 Golden. Number 8, Guardians Crusade. 7, Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. 6, Final Fantasy VII Remake. 5, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. 4, Star Wars Battlefront 2. 3, Sly 2 Band of Thieves. 2 is League of Legends. 1 is Mass Effect 2. Questions?
I'm actually shocked that League of Legends is 2.
Has to be. It's so important in my life.
No, I know. I was expecting these to be 1 because while I know you enjoy Mass Effect and you really like
nothing
the
has
story,
made me feel the way I felt after I beat Mass Effect for the first time to this day. So to me, I'm a very big on feeling and emotion and everything like
big
that.
old softy.
Yeah. So it's like, experiences, I guess I should say.
So Mass Effect trumped League for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, here's the thing. When Mass Effect 3 ended, and I know I don't have Mass Effect 3 on there because 2 is far superior, and I saw that ending, I was scouring the internet because I couldn't believe this. This couldn't be true.
Right.
They couldn't do this. It was I was obsessed.
I was upset.
Yeah. Yes. And then I saw the indoctrination theory. I was like, okay, yeah, yep. It was like medicine.
Can't argue it.
No, but I don't know. Mass Effect 2 checks all my boxes. It's just my favorite game.
Best girl, best boy?
Miranda Lawson. Okay. Because I'm a basic person.
All right.
Yeah. So.
And number 3 was Spyro?
Sly 2. Or Sly Cooper.
Please hit me with that.
All right. So it is the 20th anniversary. I sent this to Tyler today. Sly 2 is one of the big 3 on the PlayStation 2. So there's Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter and then Sly Cooper. And this was a game that I picked out. We got to go to the Toys R Us once a year, and my mom was like, "You get to pick one game." And I'm looking, I don't know what I want, and you don't have the internet back then or anything. Sure. So it's
it was hard.
Oh, I like this one, and I picked Sly Cooper. Had a little greatest hits red emblem on the top.
You can't go wrong with that. That's a good flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with this series. It was so good. But I will say the reason it's this high, I have great memories with it. I think Sly 2 is the greatest jump from a first game in the series to the second game in the series of all time. Bar none. I mean, it's almost unrecognizable to the first game. It just improves on every aspect: gameplay, story, voice acting, mechanics, everything. Where like the first one is like a linear kind of hack and slash. Really, there's not really a lot of stealth elements to it when it's supposed to be a stealth game. And the second one is like a semi-open world, stealth, action, adventure, like. Level design was crazy. I think it's a fantastic game, and I think the story is one of the best written stories I've played.
Are they redoing Sly? Is there a collection coming out? Is there a new one coming? What's the deal with Sly right now?
I thought there was a collection. They made the fourth one, and that one I heard was like not great.
Who made that?
The fourth game?
Who's the developer on it?
The originals or the new one?
Yeah, the original. Is that Insomniac?
Sucker Punch.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So then they're busy.
Yeah, they just made Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just is a strong word, but yeah.
A couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I kept them busy.
2020.
2020.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, you think they're working on a Sly Cooper? Probably
no,
not.
they're not. I'm saying they gave the other one to some other fucking studio that ruined it. But yeah, that's dude, Sly 2 is so good.
Yeah.
It is so good.
So when you look at your list, you don't see what I'm hearing is childhood John. Right?
Oh yeah,
it's really
it's
the
big
theme.
childhood John. So if we're just looking top 10, Backyard Baseball childhood, Guardians Crusade childhood, Spyro 2. I wouldn't consider Call of Duty childhood. That's kind of middle.
Right.
Star Wars Battlefront 2's, I guess, childhood. I mean, that might be one of like the highest played games. Like I would play Galactic Conquest on repeat, dude.
Sure.
Like so much fun. And then Sly 2's childhood. And then I don't think Mass Effect 2. So I think it's a good balance. Like you have some middle ones like Xbox 360 where it's like Modern Warfare 2 and Mass Effect 2, right?
Modern Warfare 2 was a big game. I remember, and I know for a fact you did too, went through multiple discs because the 360 would eat out that center plastic piece.
We would fuck up the discs from playing it too much. And I think that they used really cheap plastic though.
100%.
So we would have these fucked up discs where it's all not scratched up, but like broken plastic. I still think that's the best Call of Duty of all time. I know people like 4. I just think Modern Warfare 2 is just classic, man. That was like, and you talked about like the days you go home, everyone gets on. Not a question. You don't call up your friend and ask him if he's getting on. It was known that we're getting on after school, and this is what we're doing till we go to bed for years. So that's a big one. How much time do I have left? 2 minutes?
Yep.
Okay, let me talk about Guardians Crusade. Japan. Ever hear of it? It's a country in the East. Okay. And they made a game. So everyone has that one RPG that they played when they were a kid, right? A lot of people, it was Final Fantasy VII.
Uh-huh.
For me, it was a game called Guardians Crusade. In Japan, it's called Night and Baby. It's like an
No, it's not.
You swear to God. It's an introductory RPG for like kids to get them into the genre. Swear to God, man. I'm not even joking. Where you're like this knight, you're like this kid who's a knight or something. This pixie follows you around, and then this pink little blob bunny looking thing plops around.
I think you're describing a Zelda knockoff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a knockoff of it's literally there to teach you what an RPG is, to introduce you.
Did you rent this from the library?
No,
Is
my parents brought it from Japan.
Oh,
yeah. So
you couldn't
region
read
locks.
it then.
no, you can change the language in the game.
Oh, can you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
All
this was PS1, and it was the best thing. Also, I think still has one of the most unique magic systems because there's no magic in the game. They were called living toys. And what they did was,
well,
guys,
then.
I'd like to remind everyone I was 7. So what happened is you'd find them throughout the world and stuff, and each one of them had a different thing. Like and they all have names. Like one of them's called the Bomb, and he does like AOE bomb damage to everyone. Actually, the most memorable one was Walk Bomb. So every step you took, it calculated on Walk Bomb, and then when you threw them out, the number of steps you took since the last time you threw them out. So what I would do every time is I'd save them for the last boss and do like 1 million damage because I walked the whole game. And then another memorable one is Contributor, who would take coins from you, but he'd throw them at the enemy. So you're spending money, but he did like the most damage, dude. He'd just kill them all. But
it's Yojimbo.
Yeah, exactly. But this was 97. So
instead of playing Final Fantasy VII,
that's what I'm saying. So that's what that is. And then, yeah, I don't know. Spyro is fantastic. Backyard Baseball is so good. That's childhood. But League of Legends is just super important to everything, man. Like I've been playing this for so many years now, and the highs and lows of the game. Like there are a ton of lows where you're just you hate life, but that's how much you care about the game. And I tell people about this. Like, it makes you that mad, but like if you didn't care about it, you wouldn't feel anything. So, and then the highs are just unbelievable when you like come back and win base race or outplay someone like crazy. You feel like Faker. It's like just the best feeling in the world. So, I don't know. That's why it's number 2.
Respect.
All right, I rest my case. Sorry, I went over.
No, that's good.
Very good.
Whew, I'm sweating. That was a lot.
Yeah, you're in the hot seat.
You did great
for a
Thanks,
full.
man.
I loved your
time.
list.
That's why I didn't want to do 25 straight. It's like,
No,
oh,
hey,
let's
that's all
talk
right.
about me
That's
for,
all right.
for an
Nate's
hour.
snuck that in there. Nate, are you going next? Who's going next? Jeffrey, is that you?
I think I'm up.
All right.
Jeff's up, man. I'm excited for this. I'm excited.
Don't get too excited. Now, I am staring at my iPad.
Yep.
I have 6 pages of notes. I'm going to do my best.
Gosh. Now, you can lift, if you hit the little screw thing on the side of the mic, you can lift it up if you need it up.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you. Oh, like this?
Yeah. Just pull it towards you. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I hate being tall. So here's the deal, guys. I have 6 pages of notes. And the way I approached this, almost like a review of my life in gaming, was, I guess, how I approach like, almost like an approach to food. You know, what experience did I have with these games? Whether I was 2, whether I was 10, whether I was 33. You know, what was the experience at the time? And what was the lasting impact? And yes, I think going back to Tyler's question, I do think about games very differently now than I did back then, obviously. I'm looking for maybe a little bit more. But I think this is really hard. Talking about what John said earlier, 25 games sounds like a ton. Like, how do you even get 25 games on a list? I think it was incredibly hard to get it down to 25. I was at like 56, and I had to pare it down. And it was so... I'm sorry. I'm rambling. I'm going to start my list at 25, and I'm going to preface that with saying I have not played these games. There are a handful of games that I wrote down that typically end up on best ofs, tops of, and people are going to ask me, where's this? Where's that? No. What Killed Jeff Campese, have not played Red Dead Redemption 2. I have not played Undertale. I have not played Fallout New Vegas. I have not played Disco Elysium. I have not played Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I have not played Chrono Trigger.
But Jeff.
I'm going to pause. I have not played Chrono Trigger.
I returned it.
Well, that might be worse, buddy. I don't think you should have said that.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is your list. Go ahead.
Don't worry, Jeff. He just took all the heat off you.
Yeah, I feel great now. Because these are like I'm almost embarrassed to admit these in public. I have not played Persona 4 Golden or 5. So I have just not played them.
And you're saying on paper, you think those would rank highly?
I think that these games, especially looking at Undertale, probably Red Dead, and definitely Chrono Trigger would be on there. Possibly Persona, I don't know. But I just wanted to make that known. Does that come out on my time? I don't know. All right.
No, you're good.
Oh, you're good, man.
Listeners, viewers. I guess there's no viewers. I'm going to do the best that I can. I've got a lot of notes. I'm going to start with 25. Number 25 is Deathloop by Arcane Studios, released in 2022.
Wow. Just came out on Game Pass.
Just came out on Game Pass, completely free to try, with new abilities, new guns, and a new ending. I'm not going to touch too much on this game, but it is the most futuristic game I've ever played in terms of game systems and how you interact with the world. So I'm just going to run by it real quick. You wake up on an island, the same island, every single day. You probably die, and you're reincarnated on the same island. It's a loop. It's a time loop. The only way to break the loop is you have to kill 8 targets or bosses within one day, and that'll break the cycle. However, everyone else on the island loves the fact that it's an island. And that makes you public enemy number one because you're trying to break that cycle, and everyone else loves it. There's a lot of interesting things at play here. The best voice acting I've ever heard in a game, the most realistic voice acting I've ever heard in a game. Gotta try out Deathloop. It is on Game Pass.
So that's a roguelite then.
That is a first-person shooter.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a roguelite.
Okay,
because it's
a little bit.
Okay,
kind of
it has its elements.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Number 24, Ghost of Tsushima, developed by Sucker Punch in 2022. This game gets a lot of bad rap. For me, it really hit home. In my opinion, it is the most gorgeous game I've ever seen. Not necessarily graphically, but stylistically, which in my opinion is more important than the graphical fidelity of a game. It is absolutely gorgeous. This game alone inspired me to buy Japanese style shirts that are now in my closet.
Okay.
Like I wanted to be in that world so much that I was buying clothing. Game absolutely rules. It has a very different take on a protagonist type character. You're not becoming the hero. You're more kind of betraying your own values, which I found super interesting. And it has a hell of an ending. Number 23. This might show my age a little bit. Guitar Hero, developed by Harmonix in 2005.
The first one?
The first.
Oh, yeah, you're old. Oh, my God.
If my grades don't show it, that game just did. So what I love about Guitar Hero is it absolutely took over the world. It was in every household. That peripheral, is still found at garage sales. What I love so much about it is, and I know, John, you're a talented musician type. I am not. I can't dance. I can't sing. I can't play an instrument. I can't do anything musically. What Guitar Hero did for me was gave me that feeling of being a rock star. I'll never forget it. Number 22, God of War 2018. And I hated that I put this on my list, but I had to put it on my list just by the sheer fact that Cory Barlog and Sony Santa Monica took one of the most iconic PlayStation franchises, kind of turned it on its head and said, no, Kratos doesn't have to be this. He can be something completely else. And I absolutely love the experience for it. Number 21, Super Meat Boy, developed by Team Meat in 2010. This game hit at a perfect time for me. It was during the Xbox 360 downloadable online arcade era where we were getting things like Limbo, Braid, Castle Crashers. But for me, Super Meat Boy took the cake. It was probably the first game I ever experienced true difficulty in a game. I hit that roadblock and I was like, no, I got to push past it. Just really connected with Super Meat Boy. And then a film actually released after it called Indie Game, the Movie. And it chronicled Team Meat, the guy who did Phil something who did Fez, and the guy behind Braid, and it showed what it took to make a game by yourself. Thought it was super interesting. Super Meat Boy just still sticks with me to this day.
That movie has my highest play count. I tell you that already?
Yes.
I hate
Great
that
movie.
so bad. I'm so angry. I have like 600 hours in that movie. I don't know why. I guess it was just like left on. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So it's your favorite movie of all time?
Clearly.
Gotcha.
It's a good movie. But
Number 20, Kingdom Hearts 2. Square Enix, 2005. I just connected with this story. It was a different type of RPG, different type of combat. I was completely into the Zora, Kairi, Riku story. I was there for the CGI trailers with the almost J-pop songs. Loved Kingdom Hearts. Number 19, Cuphead. 2017, Studio MDHR, the Moldenhauer brothers. I pronounced that incorrectly, I'm sorry. The Moldenhauer brothers, or maybe I didn't. Jared and Chad absolutely crushed it. The reason I love this game is it is basically me embodied in a game. I hate technology. I hate future. And Chad and Jared said, no, we're not going to develop a game like everybody else. We're going to go back to animation from the 1930s and 40s, create a game from that animation style, and they got a result that is like no other game. And it's a freaking badass boss rush game.
I feel like the Netflix show kind of sucks, though.
I like the Netflix show. I didn't think it was that bad.
I thought the game was really cool. The Netflix show didn't do it justice.
That's fair. Number 18, Halo 3, developed by Bungie, 2007.
I need to fist bump you there.
Yes.
All right.
I'm actually surprised that this wasn't higher on my list.
I just mean like in terms of all the Halos and like the age, like that's where we're talking about like age and where everyone was when they played it. Yeah.
This game just was very special to me. It felt like the most heroic game of the three, from the Warthog and cutscene, not even a cutscene, the ending scenario with the Warthog, the music, the multiplayer. I mean, the pit for me, the pit is the quintessential map on Halo 3.
All right, I need to take that fist bump back real quick.
Oh, you can take it back. You can take it back.
You had me
Appreciate
too.
it. Yeah.
I love the pit. My ex-girlfriend and I in high school, we played duos together. We got rank 50 together. It was just a special game for me.
Griffball. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Forge was a
I
huge
loved
deal.
Griffball.
Yeah.
Like my brothers, we would just play Griffball. Yeah.
I'm going to cheat on number 17, and I'm sorry. I am not going to tell you if I think Mass Effect 1 or Mass Effect 2 is better. So I'm just going to say Mass Effect. Developed by BioWare in 2007.
One's slightly better than the other.
What I loved so much about this game was I was just really looking for an RPG. I walked into a GameStop one day. I said, look, recommend an RPG for me. I said, that's it. I said, oh, okay. It's kind of sci-fi, kind of spacey. I'm into that. It was a collector's edition. I was like, oh, God, I got to buy the collector's edition. All right, whatever. Fell in love with it instantly. My best girl, best boy are Tally and Rex. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Number 16, Grand Theft Auto 5. You can take back that fist bump again.
I'll give it back to you. I'll give it to you. It's fine.
Developed by Rockstar in 2013. I actually have not played this game until this year. I initially dismissed this game twice because I tried to play it like the YouTube videos. I tried to play it like the sandbox style. It did not connect with me. As soon as I slowed down and played this game almost like an RPG, I really started to love it. I was stopping at stop signs. I was following the speed limit. I was not hijacking anyone's car. I was talking to people like a normal citizen, and I absolutely loved it.
You know, the Grand Theft Auto way.
Yeah, no, dude. But that's the beauty of the game. Tyler doesn't understand.
Sure.
I will also say that this game has the most realized world / city I've ever seen in a video game, in that I get lost in it, like literally. It feels like I'm in the city. I take a wrong turn. I'm like, oh shit, like I don't recognize any of these buildings. It's amazing.
And then you get back to a landmark and you're like, oh, I know this place. Yeah,
it's awesome. Number 15, Final Fantasy X. Developed by Square in 2001. This one was interesting for me. When I thought back to Final Fantasy, I did not start with 7. I did not start with 6. I actually started with 8, and 8 was cool. But Final Fantasy X, with that graphical upgrade to the PlayStation 2, is what made me fall in love with Final Fantasy games. I think I might have had a little bit of a crush on Yuna, and seeing her in that wedding dress and the love story between her and Tidus, I was there for it. Number 14, Dark Souls 3, developed by From Software in 2016. My first FromSoft game. I'll just leave it at that. This is where things get a little hairy. We're in the top 13 area.
Yeah, this is where I am. I'm
where,
up for this.
This is where things start to get a little juicy, and some of these are still, what you would expect. But
give me the juice.
Number 13. Snowboard Kids 2. And
now the retribution. Yes.
I mentioned this game to you guys before. This is better than Mario Kart 64. This is the game. We should not be playing Mario Kart 8 or whatever this bullshit is. We should be playing Snowboard Kids Super Deluxe. Like, this is how good this game is. It is. Go ahead, John.
I
please.
just want the audience to know I didn't come in here and say Guardians Crusade is better than Final Fantasy VII. Okay, that's not what it is. Right? So,
but I am here telling the viewers, I don't know why I say viewers, the listeners, that Snowboard Kids 2 is 100% better than Mario Kart 64.
If we had viewers, they would see that you have a straight face right now. And it's crazy.
What system's this on?
At Nintendo 64.
I might play this.
You can't
say that.
We still break this game out and play it.
I would absolutely play it. I didn't think
Mario
Kart was
What makes this game so unique is you have the power-ups, you have the weapons, but on top of that, you have the jumps, you have the tricks, you have these ways to reflect attacks that are so unique and different from Mario Kart. And on top of that, you're racing down a hill. So you know what happens when you get to the bottom of the hill? The race isn't over. You have to get on the goddamn lift and take it back up the hill. And that doesn't sound that exciting, but let me tell you, you need to hit this pixel perfect lift. This little gate. And what happens is only one person can get on the gate at a time. So what happens, you get to the bottom of the hill and hilarity ensues. It's like a mini game of itself because you're all jumping in a snowboard trying to get towards this lift. If you haven't played Snowboard Kids 2, play it. Number 12, Counter-Strike 1.6, Valve 2003. This was my first M-rated game. I was probably 15 or 16 years old.
PC or Xbox? It was on Xbox.
Was it part of the orange box?
No.
Definitely PC.
Okay.
Hands down PC.
Well, I just had to ask.
I can't believe it was on Xbox. That's wild.
I bought this underage. I'll admit it.
Ooh.
And they didn't. I had to go to a box store because GameStop carded me.
You know this can be submitted as evidence, right?
Isn't there like a 10-year rule or something like that?
Probably.
I get in the car. I'm with Dwayne. And we're sweating bullets because he knows my mom's going to ask me, what'd you buy? I had to show her. M-rated. Go take it back in. I had to sit there and explain to her why this game wasn't bad and how Dwayne's little cousins who were like 9 and 10 years old got to play Counter-Strike, but I didn't.
And how old were you at this point?
15 or 16.
Can we hear the argument?
It wasn't good.
Okay.
I'm just gonna rattle off some of these maps
Mom,
for the
did you
people
know
that
that
are
in 2020 that this game would actually be rated like T or maybe E10+.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's like
right.
little square pieces of blood, and that's it.
We have gone downhill in this society.
It's gotten a little worse.
Bad.
I just want to list off some
Cut
maps.
to doom.
Yeah, when you have to come up with a word called gib or jib. Like, okay.
Dust 1 and 2, Ice World, Aztec, Rats, strategic buying that we still see in games like Valorant, Scouts and Knives maps, gun game, op only, and aimbot hacking. That is what made Counter-Strike memorable for me.
So no pit in that one?
No pit.
Yeah.
Bastard.
So I think it's the best shooter. It's
Counter-Strike?
Like yeah, I think it's the most classic. You know, it just defined the genre.
Wow.
What made it so interesting was it's very competitively map driven. Like the maps were just so intricately made that every little positioning could matter.
Have you ever told your hoof buddy about your Counter-Strike love?
No,
You should get on that tonight.
I'll talk to my hoof guy. Number 11. Again, super surprised this didn't go higher on the list. Elden Ring from Software 2022. It's hard for me to talk about why this game was so important to me. Breath of the Wild did not connect with me. For me, that was not a Zelda game. But for some reason, Elden Ring probably connected with me the way Breath of the Wild connects with the people that put it number 1 on their list. The sense of discovery, the sense of being able to go wherever I want. It felt like no matter where I went, there was something to do. And then I streamed this game, and I put in 357 attempts on this boss, purposefully handicapping myself because people say that they wish there was like an adjustment mode, an easy mode for this game. There is. It's called this mirror ability where it creates a duplicate of yourself, and that's how everyone defeated Millennia. I refuse to use that in the game at all. It's like cheating. But I knew that I was about to beat her, and I sent out a text message. I said, guys, I need your energy. Get in chat. Hype me up. And I defeated her with like all my friends there. It felt like a real achievement. It felt amazing. I have it saved as a clip. It was just a really tremendous moment for me. Number 10.
Are we... I'm good.
Now, this is a good pause because we're in the top 10.
That's what I said.
Now,
I thought, are we going to pause and talk before we go into the 10?
I don't know.
That's what we did for me, but it's up to you, Jeff. It's
We can-
dealer's
I mean,
I
choice.
feel like we're getting your
Yeah, I think you did it. Structured it very well.
Am I getting? Is my vibe coming across?
Love
Absolutely.
the vibe.
Yeah.
It feels like
Keep
a
going.
graduation speech to me. Is anyone else getting that?
Actually,
It's
kind
going
of.
to
Yeah,
change
right?
how I'm going to go through my list because I feel like that's a good way of like.
I feel bad now because I was like, this game.
No, yeah,
Let me
yours
try to
was
remember.
Just not.
It's okay. I'll make you feel better about yourself.
Are we related? All right, go ahead, Jeff.
So now I'm hitting my top 10. Some of these, yeah, we'll just go. Number 10, Tales of Destiny. Namco Tales Studios, 1997. For those of you that don't know, I was a Nintendo fanboy growing up. I didn't know any better. I did not own a Sega Genesis. I had a Nintendo. I had a Super Nintendo. I had the Nintendo 64. I did not depart from that until the PlayStation 2. So I had a lot of catching up on PlayStation 1 games, RPGs, all that stuff. Tales of Destiny was one of my first JRPGs. It really, really stuck with me. It is not your typical turn-based RPG. It is a two-dimensional fighting game, almost like Street Fighter 2. Like you enter this realm or your cutscene, and you start fighting the enemy, and it's a fighting game. This game represents the type of game that I would make if I was a game designer. And what makes me so frustrated is that we haven't had a game like this since in the Tales series. The last one was Tales of Legendia on PlayStation 2, and then Namco Bandai moved to a 3D fighting arena, and they all suck. That's my hot take. Number 9. I really, really like this.
Your hot take was the Mario Kart thing. But
No, that was
That was a
that wasn't a hot take.
Yikes.
I really like my number 9.
Give me the juice, man.
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Nice. Which one?
1 plus Corkscrew Follies expansion, developed by Chris Sawyer in 1999. This game has to be what like modern day kids feel playing Minecraft, like that connection of freedom, of creative energy. Roller Coaster Tycoon was so awesome. I remember buying it at the book fair. Like I said, I don't feel like reading this year. I'm gonna buy this video game, and it came at a time when I was being babysat, and I didn't really. I was an extremely I was extremely shy child. I was an only child. I didn't have that many close friends. So when Roller Coaster Tycoon came out in 1999 and I was being babysat, it was kind of my escape. It was my way of killing 6 hours before my parents came to get me. And it really started to not take over my life, but just started to be a creative outlet for me. I love that one. Number 8, The Last of Us, Naughty Dog 2013.
You just played that one too.
I did. And I'm so glad I played it because it holds up like a motherfucker. That game is still one of the best voice acted games I've ever seen, and probably the best narrative I've ever seen. People ask me all the time, why have you not played The Last of Us 2? I honestly I'm not interested in playing The Last of Us 2. I feel like The Last of Us 1 had such a complete story. Why would I want to move on from that? I loved every part of it. I know, Nate, you're not the biggest fan. It might not have connected with you the same way.
Actually, I was going to say that not even that, but I agree with you on not wanting to play the second one.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of the first one, but one of my biggest pet peeves in video games is whenever they're like, oh, this did really well, let's make a sequel. And no matter what ending you chose at the end of your game, they take the one that helps develop the sequel. Mm-hmm. So I know that game has a couple of endings where characters in the second game wouldn't exist depending on what you did, right? That's a thing?
Kind of.
So with that being said, doesn't it make you feel like going into that second game that your choices don't matter? Which is one of the reasons why I'm sure that Mass Effect is as big as it is, because your game continues through the series.
For me, The Last of Us is not a your choices matter kind of game. For me, The Last of Us is a, hey, you're going to be on these rails, you're going to follow our narrative, and you're going to sometimes not like the choices we make for you. And for instance, Ellie is kind of like this relief of the story. She's this sweet, kind. She almost represents the hope of humanity. Well, she does represent the hope for humanity. And then you have Joel, who represents the selfishness of humanity. He represents the undying love for somebody, even though it might not be right. And in my opinion, Joel is the main character of that game. And he is truthfully a terrible person. He's not a good person. But that is what The Last of Us does so well, is it just portrays humanity. And I'm actually surprised it's at number 8, but
I like 2 a lot.
Did you?
It's one of those, like, on one hand, I want you, if you liked Last of Us, I would love to see how you enjoyed 2.
The problem is you like 2 not for the narrative, though, because you liked, I don't know, when you were talking about it, I remember you talking about you liked, obviously, graphically it was beautiful, voice acting.
I only liked it for the narrative.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. No, the acting and the narrative and everything, because everything about, like, I wanted to get done with it as quickly as humanly possible. But everything that you're saying, though, I fully support you not playing it, because it does make you relook at 1. And if you love 1 to the extent that you're saying you are, why tarnish it?
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Number 7, Pokemon Red and Blue, developed by Nintendo Game Freak, 1996.
You have to pick one.
Yeah, you got to pick
to
one.
stay at this table, you have to pick one.
Pokemon Blue.
Okay.
All right, good boy.
What are these games?
I'll tell you when you're older.
Oh, okay.
For me, I don't think there's a better trifecta of things that overtook me at that 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade level than the Pokemon trading card game, the Pokemon anime, and the Pokemon game for Game Boy. It was the perfect swarm of, I don't even know what this is. It's like Japan punched me in the face with their little Pokemon monsters. And I was just enthralled by it. I remember, if somebody got a Japanese trading card on the schoolyard, it was like, holy shit, where'd that come from? Like, what is that? And I remember printing out pictures of Pokemon on the inkjet printer. It would take 5 minutes for it to print out. My parents would yell at me, where's all the ink? And I'm like, I printed out all these cool Pokemon.
Gengar takes up too much black.
And, the game really, like, I think back to the rare candy glitch. I think back to, like, what your party, like, kind of said about you. I was really about Magmar and the fighting type Pokemon and, like, some of the psychic Pokemon. It felt like you could identify or be like this type of trainer. It felt like really cool. It just really was that nostalgia trip for me. Number 6, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, developed by Nintendo in 1992. Now, this to me is Zelda. This is probably the best incarnation of Zelda, in my opinion, from the iconic map to going behind the waterfall to discover a secret. It just hits all of those things that are still put in video games to this day. And on top of that, I talked a little bit about Roller Coaster Tycoon and being babysat. Legend of Zelda hit for me when I was in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, still getting babysat, and I did not have many friends at all. So this was very much a Harry Potter situation where at my babysitter's, the Nintendo and the TV were set up in the basement underneath the stairs as you walk down the basement. And I would just, as soon as I got off the bus, I would run down there and hunker down underneath, like the stairs would be right like on my head and the TV would be here. And I would just escape into the world of Zelda. And I would spend days accomplishing nothing because I didn't understand where I needed to go, or I'd be lost, or I didn't know how to unlock the next flipper or the glove to move the boulder. But it just, honestly, this game is probably what introduced me to the magic that were video games. Whew. I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit over. We'll get there. Number 5, EverQuest. Fucking EverQuest. And I brought a prop.
You brought a what?
A prop.
This
John,
plays well.
I understand that you might not understand this, but games used to not have maps. And you would have...
Very confused right now.
This is one of my favorite gaming props ever, and it's called the EverQuest Atlas. And I used to have to use this to navigate the world of Norath. It was... Okay, so for those of you who don't know, this is a MMO that was developed by... I guess you could say Daybreak and Sony Online Entertainment. They eventually became it. But for a lot of people, this, maybe RuneScape, was their first introduction into an MMO, and that is what it was for me. And this also coincided with me finding my best friend in 7th grade. And up until then, I did not have that person that I could talk to. I did not have that person who was kind of like my go-to. I didn't have any siblings. So in 7th grade, I found my best friend who introduced me to EverQuest, and my world was blown. This kind of opened up the same amount of magic that Link to the Past did for me in 2nd grade. It was like this whole new world. It felt like a different language. People were talking about the brownies in Fadark and going to kill this so-and-so dragon. And the awesome thing about EverQuest is it is not a hand-holdy game. There are some serious penalties to dying in EverQuest. You don't just go and get your body back. You could lose all of your armor that you spent years trying to obtain. So EverQuest really has a special place for me. Number 4, Half-Life 2, developed by Valve in 2004. This was one of the most special times to be alive. 2004, I was 16 years old. I just got my first legitimate computer. It was a lime green Alienware.
Nice.
I think a lot of people can connect with that visual. And Half-Life 2 just came out of nowhere and showed me that a first-person shooter could be so much more than just your Counter-Strike or just your your Halos. And as much as I love Halo, Half-Life 2 for me just showed that it could be so much more. Number 3, Journey, developed by that game company and Sony Santa Monica in 2012. I'm not going to talk about this game too much. It is a 3-hour experience, extremely short. And all I'm going to really say is that if anyone ever needed a reason as to why the video game medium needed to exist or needs to exist, this game portrays that. This game does something that no other medium can. Books, music, cinema can't touch what this game makes you feel, makes you experience in 3 hours. It is mind-blowing. I have an enormous art piece in my home of Journey. It is truly a memorable experience. Number 2, John, League of Legends. What's there to be said?
We didn't break the number 1 on either.
We can't live with ourselves.
That's all right. Nate will get up there. That's fine.
I mean,
That's too much self-hating.
trust me, there's a lot of low points in this game.
Sure.
Developed by Riot Games in 2009. I can't really say too much about it. It is the perfect multiplayer map. The fact that we are still playing the same map. There's not even a second map. There's one map.
They get every time they try, they get it doesn't work.
We've been playing one map for 13 years.
And the crazy thing about it is it's not symmetrical.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like every game is like, oh, the classic competitive map needs to be symmetrical. They broke the mold.
It is so amazing that this game was what it was able to do, and I didn't believe in it at first. I didn't. I was like, this is bullshit. You guys are messing with me, right? And here I am, 13 years later. For me, it introduced me to esports. I thought, and maybe for a lot of the world, it introduced me to professional video game players. I'm like, what the hell? Like, people are getting paid for this. They're making more money than me. This is bullshit. And it also, I think what is so special about League of Legends is as toxic as the community is, people really get behind the lore. They really get behind the cosplay. There is, there's just something magical about it. It's like the lore is a little bit shallow. It's not that much. You mentioned, what's the show?
Arcane.
You mentioned Arcane earlier. Phenomenal show, but there's something to be said about spending 5,000 hours on a video game, which I have in League of Legends, which is disgusting because that is almost an entire year of my existence on this earth has been spent in the godforsaken client of League of Legends, which is god awful.
The same.
And
what percentage would you say was happy versus angry?
Oh, I would say 85% sad, maybe 15%.
So 85% sad of a year of your life.
Yeah.
Dude, the elation you
that
get
makes me
when
sad.
you pull off that comeback or that magical play or just a perfectly executed team fight cannot be described. It literally can't.
Okay.
I was joking about the 85. But
I don't think it's 85 either, but
You think,
I don't know, the highs
like,
are-
you think it's like a 50-50 split? Or you think it's just you?
I think it's more negative than positive. Although it's hard to say because I think you remember the negative more sometimes, right?
certain people.
I think there's a reason why the League of Legends community is viewed as the most toxic community in gaming, and that's because of how important it is to people. Like John said, it really, when you take that loss and you're close to promo, and it's because somebody is trolling you or is doing something like they're not taking the game as seriously as you are, it hurts. I don't know why it hurts. I can't.
It feels personal.
It does.
Yeah.
It feels like an attack. Or if somebody goes in and starts mocking what you're doing or insults, like, oh, why'd you do this? And then you explain the thought behind it as to, I'm trying to help us win, and they don't agree with it. It does become personal. And it's just, I'm so impressed by it. And one of the things that I do think it does very well is it makes it incredibly returnable. Is that? Mm-hmm. You can return to the game. Sustainable. Yeah. It does not put barriers. If you leave the game for 2 years, there's a pretty good possibility you can come back to it and within a couple of games get your footing. You may not know the new champions, but it's not that impactful. You can come back to it time and time again.
Can I say, for somebody that doesn't play that game very often and tends to get like random little itches where I have to play like 2 or 3 games of Summoner's Rift and then I've got my fix.
Yeah.
Coming in with 200 plus champions and not knowing how any of them play, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
What I feel like once you get over this barrier, and the barrier to entry is extremely large.
Year of your life.
Yeah. Once you get over it, it's just like this comfort. It's the ultimate comfort food. Like you can come back to this game and there's just this feeling of like, okay, I'm home again. Like this is what I know, right?
I think to Nate's point, it's the more important is if you're coming in and there's 200 champions you don't know, pick one as your main or pick 2 or 3. And as long as you know those champions well and you know what they do, there's a good chance you can land that bind. There's a good chance you can land that ultimate.
Yeah.
Even if you might not know all the dashes of the enemy and things like that. I could imagine coming into this game fresh could be pretty daunting.
I don't know how people do it. It's crazy.
But for me, the experience has been
I think
very
everybody has
influential.
that game where it's just like, why did I ever stop playing this? And then you play it for a while, and you're like, why did I? And then, yeah.
Yeah. And the only other thing I'll say about this, and I'll let you finish. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jeff. I like with this game, when you put hours and hours into like a specific champion, and then you watch a TV show, and there she is, or there he is. Like this feeling of like, you're just like this super, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This like this crazy feeling comes over. You're like a super fan. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's Jinx. I put like half a year into this champ. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's like this obsessive feeling, I guess, because so much time.
And the way you can find yourself in some of the champions, it kind of related to Pokemon, how you said, oh, I'm going to be the psychic trainer. I'm going to be the water-based trainer. In League of Legends, it's, oh, I'm the Jin main, or I'm the Nocturne main, and I have this kind of identity within the game.
Yeah, like
I
you
think
say,
that's something special.
I played Draven only, and you
Yeah.
know this person. You know what I mean? You know what they're about.
Yeah.
You steer clear.
And I think I'm gonna leave League of Legends where it lies, but it is a very special game for a lot of people. Number one, goddamn World of Warcraft, developed by Blizzard Entertainment in 2004. I don't think a game will ever touch the magic that was World of Warcraft vanilla and its first 2 expansions for me. This is a game that caught me right at the middle of high school, going into college, all that free time to log. You know, you guys talk about coming home and getting on Call of Duty, and you know everyone's going to be there. That's what World of Warcraft was for me. And so much more. I think what Call of Duty did for me and why it's so special is what it gave to me outside of the game. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 people in my best friends group that I met through World of Warcraft alone. It wasn't an introduction and then we played World of Warcraft. It wasn't, oh, this person lives down the street, let's play World of Warcraft together. It was, you're in my guild. Oh my God, you live in New York? Do you want to go to a concert together? It was this connection that really, I can't believe they're in my life, and they're still in my life, and it's amazing. It also gave me confidence during those high school years and going into college. I started to become way more outgoing. I was a raid leader, like. I was a guild leader. People were asking me questions. People were saying, can you solve this problem for me that I'm having with this other guild member? I was calling people's homes at 7 p.m., 9 p.m., talking to their wives saying, hey, is your husband going to log on for raid? We kind of, you're supposed to be on 15 minutes ago. They're like, why is this kid calling the house? But no, like taking charge and leading 40 people, taking charge and leading 25 people, getting them all on the same page and giving them assignments, it did translate into my work. Like, it's weird to think about that. And it's been there for me during my darkest moments. And a lot of you know that a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, my significant other left me. And I think when a relationship like that ends and you're older, it hits a little bit different. And I did not think, I thought we were going to get married. And the first thing that I did, and the first thing that a lot of people said were, are you going to start playing World of Warcraft again? And I said, yeah, I am. And as silly as that sounds, what it built my confidence back up. I got into a guild. I started talking to people again. I tried to, work myself out of that depression and that dark state of mind that somebody that was the most important in my life didn't want to be around me anymore or even, talk to me. I was devastated, and finding a new guild, raiding with them every week, having a responsibility outside of work to socialize, it built up my confidence again. And honestly, after that, I was very quickly introduced to Nate, which transitioned into more socializing. And, this isn't a woe is me story. It's this game helps people, and it has helped me almost through my entire life. And it's a very special game to me, and I don't think it can be replicated. I hope that it's replicated for younger gamers. Like
everyone else is screwed. Enjoy classic WoW.
I hope that
awesome,
that is what WoW is to me, is what it gave me outside of the game. I'm done. I went over. Oh wait, I'm not done. Sorry. I have
Nate's getting already, and then
I don't even have my phone out.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 honorable mentions that I'm not going to talk about. I'm just going to list. Honorable mentions: Blasphemous, Diablo 2, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, Hades, Amori, and Clay Fighter 64.
Okay, I'll give you a Clay Fighter.
The fact that Vampire's on there as an honorable mention, just everything else he said, I just
Does it mean a lot to you?
It does mean a lot.
It was on my top 25, but it was hard to keep. Like the 25 was hard to do. We can all agree.
Well, it's going to be hard to follow that.
Yeah, I hope you have 6 pages written out, ready to go, Nate.
I did.
That was fantastic, Jeff.
I'm gonna pull.
Sorry for being wordy.
No,
I'm
that
gonna
was
pull
really
a
good.
John here. I mean, I was encapsulated the whole time.
I don't believe you at all.
I literally just. I said something because I felt like, if I didn't say something that, the podcast thing would be weird. I can't articulate tonight. So I have 25. I've got nothing written beside the 25. I don't know who developed them half the time, and I don't know when they came out. But I wrote down a list of games that just I remember, and my personal criteria was I had to remember something about the game other than I played this and I really liked it. Like I had to have like a solid understanding still. Like if I went back, I could be the guy who would be talking to the newbie and be like, oh, I haven't played this in 10 years, but this is what you got to do, right? So my number 25, my first ever RPG is the Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Great.
I did not own a Super Nintendo. Never owned this game until I was in college, and I went and I spent $130 to get this cartridge because they didn't have a remake of it. You had to go and find an original. There's this little store out in Hopewell, Pennsylvania called Game Master's Realm, and the guy, whenever I used to work at GameStop, used to come in and he used to buy, like anytime we had to buy 2 get 1 free sale, or anytime we had like some crazy discount, he used to buy as much inventory as he could to go and just upcharge at his store. But he was always like, good about it. And I would go up to his store every once in a while. And the one day I was like, hey, do you have this game? And he's like, yeah, I've got 2. And he brings out the one that has the original, sleeve and stuff. And I was like, can I get a Super Nintendo in this? And I went home and I just played that game. Like, it was so good. The RPG wasn't great, but it was just it hit home. You know what I mean? It brought back, like, I would go to my buddy's house because I didn't realize until I was older that it's really weird that my school district didn't have buses. We walked to and from school, and I lived about 40 minutes from the school. Like, I lived on like the edge of the school district. So my buddy's house was halfway between my house and the school. Actually, probably not even half. He was probably like a quarter of the way to the school. But I would go to his house, and once again, we'd go into his Pittsburgh basement, which is just cement. It was damp and dreary, and you can smell a Pittsburgh basement if you know what a Pittsburgh basement is. Like, it's disgusting. But we would sit on the stone floor, and we would just play Super Nintendo. And as soon as his brother got off, we would hijack and play Super Mario RPG. And it was just one of the best experiences because it's the first game where you went through and you got to interact with the game, and more than just I'm following a story. Now I get to like choose where the story goes, and I get to choose like different things. And I feel like it was on rails, but it gave you this feeling that the other games didn't. I guess it was more like the open world. I also followed it up with Pokemon Blue, specifically Blue. And that was my first game that I played with my sisters. So we had, the link cable, and we all had the different games. And my dad, whenever the games came out, he got, the red and the blue, and he pulled them out, and he was like, here, you guys got to pick one. And I was like, well, I want the one with the cool turtle on it. And like, so, I mean, I could, I was also hit by that Pokemon bug. I had the cards, I had the games. I could do the Poke Rap when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, I would wake up every morning, watch Sonic the Hedgehog and Pokemon on Saturdays. Like, it was life for a little while in '97, right?
Yep.
Spider-Man for the PS1 by Neversoft.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's
I was a Marvel Comics kid growing up. I loved Marvel, and specifically Spider-Man, and eventually Doctor Strange, which has nothing to do with this, but Spider-Man was the most relatable superhero, and the only reason Doctor Strange ever passed him up was because he was the first Marvel superhero from Pennsylvania. Doctor Strange was born in Philadelphia, so I was like, hey, this is my boy.
Yeah.
Like, but Spider-Man is the most relatable superhero, I think, of any of them. Like, he's super, downtrodden, and nobody really likes him, but nobody really hates him. He's just kind of there, and he's trying to live his life, but he's got some extra problems that none of us have to deal with. And being able to interact with that character and go through and meet like his different villains and stuff. And Neversoft, they did like the Tony Hawk games and stuff too.
Yeah.
So they were like the game that was kind of like gritty. So like they didn't really pull their punches. Like Spider-Man had a serial killer in the game, and he was out there like, murdering people. How often do you see a Spider-Man game now where the bad guy's like, holy crap, this guy's bad. Like,
Right.
It was a lot of fun. And that's the reason Spider-Man also made cameos in the Tony Hawk games, is because they had that partnership.
Ooh.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PS2. John and I used to play that together all the time. Galactic Conquest is one of the most amazing things. I was probably one of like 4 people in the world who actually signed on to the PlayStation 2 online like stuff during the years of
the
Xbox
adapter?
Live. Yeah. Just so that I could play Star Wars Battlefront 2 with people.
Can you guys explain the Galactic Front? What was it? Galactic
Conquest?
Yes. What is this?
Do you want to go, or do you want me?
You can go. It's your list.
So Galactic Conquest was you would pick so Battlefront 2 had all of the generations of Star Wars with the
1 through
exception
6 back then, yeah.
So you could choose one of the era's major forces, so the Rebel Alliance or the Empire, and you would, like Counter-Strike, get funds, and you would go and you would start a war on a planet and try to take it for like your alliance. So you would get the different funds to buy like elite troops or extra shields or some sort of advantage. You would move around the Star Wars universe, and you would buy your ship, and you would use fuel to like traverse to like different planets. And whenever you were playing online, other people were controlling the other factions, so they were doing this too. So you were actually fighting over like the different things. And every time that somebody would attack or try to invade one of your planets, you would play the actual Battlefront 2 like video game. So there were space battles where you could use it to get advantages and get like airstrikes and stuff to support your ground troops if your team won. But then there was also the land battles where you could go and defend personally the area that you've taken. And let me tell you, one of the most disappointing things about the EA remakes is whenever they announced dogfighting, it was like, oh my goodness, that's the most amazing thing. You're actually going to be able to fly from space in the middle of a space battle, go down and support. No, they were 2 separate game modes. Like, how did the PS2 version with less technology do this better than this? And you already had like the roadmap, like you knew what worked, just go and do it again. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's like essentially a strategy game mixed in with like the actual
That's
gameplay.
pretty cool.
It's like the game we were like describing, that's the closest thing that's ever been made to that.
I also want to say that I'm envious of Jeff's MMO experience. I did not have the same like I didn't have the same camaraderie. I didn't meet people online. And I think it's because I did play with other people. So I kind of closed off my group, right? Because I already had people I knew was going to be on there. So I didn't have to go and find people to do the content with. So the MMOs are actually pretty low on here for me, but I'm going to name them back to back. It's going to be Star Wars The Old Republic.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that one.
And then Guild Wars 2. So Star Wars, just because I haven't been naming anything, Star Wars is number 22 and Guild Wars 2 is number 21. Both of those games hit for me in a different way. Star Wars The Old Republic, because there's no MMO, not even World of Warcraft or EverQuest, that has a story that is
amazing,
that is engaging as the Star Wars The Old Republic. That is the first MMO where I played it. I'm like, I don't even need other people to play this. I can play through all these stories and have a grand old time.
That's one I'm actually surprised wasn't on yours.
Completely agree with that statement.
It was close. I love that game. But it's an MMO, so.
Guild Wars 2, I felt had the most, I don't want to say like freedom, but I felt the most engaged in an MMO because it took the standard trinity, and this is a lot of criticism that it gets because a lot of people are like, oh, well, everybody just played DPS characters. And yeah, whenever you got into the high end rating and stuff, like that happened, and I never really got there. But you could play any character you wanted and you fit into a group. You didn't have to worry about looking for healers, looking for tanks, looking for whatever. You literally just went out in the world and everybody was talking to each other. Everybody was hanging out. Everybody was there to help each other out because everybody could use anybody to play. So there was no discrimination on, oh, you're a bad tank, so we're not going to bring you into a raid. It's like, oh, we can carry ourselves and we'll just kind of bring you with us. Like, let's learn the game together. So I thought that MMO environment was a breath of fresh air. Number 20 is Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES. And I'll be honest with you, it's more because our family isn't like very close. So like we have aunt and uncles that live, out in another place, and they're kind of, well acquainted and they spend a lot of time together. My family and John's family are more of the city family, and we spent a lot of time together growing up. But there wasn't much of a crossover between the family that lived out in like rural PA versus Pittsburgh. So Super Mario Brothers 3 was the first game that I connected with some of my rural family. My uncle Jimmy is the one who got it for me. And he went through and he showed me how to get all the flutes, and we used to play it every time he came over. And then our cousin Garrett also was really big into video games, and he was like, the kid who was good at everything. And you know how you get your League of Legends high anytime you beat somebody in a game of League. Anytime I would beat Garrett at something, it was great. Budokai 2 did not make it onto my list, but honorable mentions because Garrett broke my tooth by throwing a controller at me after I beat him for the first time. Nice. Number 19, The Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind.
Good pick.
I very much have a love-hate relationship with like the gothic kind of medium, but I love werewolves and sometimes vampires. It depends, But the Blood Moon expansion for Morrowind brought the werewolves in. And that's all I did. I would start a new character and just run there. But Morrowind was like the first RPG that was kind of like the all-encompassing, like this is what I'm missing from other RPGs I've played. I'm able to craft spells, make my own armor. You could get really broken in Morrowind because you could enchant your robes, your gloves, your pauldrons, like every single part of your body could have some crazy enchantment on it. And you could literally just run around like nuking people. It was just a great time after you beat the game. I don't even remember the story.
That checks out for those games, right? Yeah. It's all about like the open world and the experiences. Yeah.
What did I say? That was 19. So number 18 is I think I'm off somewhere, but number 18 is Shadowrun Hong Kong. So that was the one I was going to make you play, but for anybody that hasn't picked up on it yet, because I don't think you've plugged yourself yet this podcast.
I'm a streamer. What killed Jeff? Twitch, Twitter.
But Jeff has this thing where you can basically, vote on what game he's going to play and bully people into letting you pick the game. You have to go watch a stream to figure out how that works. But so I bullied some people out, and I made Jeff play Shadowrun Dragonfall, which definitively is like the Mass Effect 2. Everybody loves Dragonfall. It's rated the highest story, and it's a great game. I've got into the first Shadowrun, which was probably the worst one of the bunch, but I really enjoyed like the universe and the story. And I played all three of these games, and I really wanted to get into the RPG, but I sucked at DMing at the time, and nobody else would want to do it. So Shadowrun Hong Kong had the closest mechanics to the actual rule set of the tabletop game. So that was kind of like my way to play in that universe without having to find people to do it with. And the characters in that game are really impactful to the point where I actually like misremembered certain characters and was really excited for you to meet them in Dragonfall and then realized they didn't exist. I was so sad. Number 17 is a board game, but it's not a board game. It's called Armello, and it's a PC game.
Wow.
And
surprise.
Shocker.
They just announced last night a new game, their second game, this company called League of Geeks.
Yeah,
and it's a really small company. They're coming out with a new digital board game. So it's going to be their second, I think it's their second game like ever. But Armello is Game of Thrones, but anthropomorphic. Yeah, something like that.
I like how you jumped in to help.
Yeah. My brain was like, I wanted to. I think it's anthropomorphic.
But there's multiple ways to win. You get like different cards, and those are like your abilities to kind of keep it high level. And there's a story that plays through every time you go on a quest in the game. And so your story is yours, but it changes every time you play. And you're playing against a couple of other people. It's the first game my wife actually got addicted to and is twice the level I am in there. Like to date, like rated, it goes through 100 levels. You have to play a ton. I think I'm on like the low 50s, and Abby played on my game sometimes, and she's like level 92. Like I don't think she has to literally handicap herself like you with Millennia or whatever. She has to handicap herself so that people don't quit while she's like in games because she's gotten so good at a couple of characters. Like it's disgusting, but it's a lot of fun. And
it's a great pick.
It's a good game. Number 16 is going to be Fallout New Vegas. I enjoyed the story. I do not like voiced protagonists, and Fallout 3 was almost in its place, but Fallout 3 ended so abruptly, and I lost a character and then couldn't resurrect them till the expansion. But by the time the expansion came out, I had a new computer, so it was one of those things where it's like I can't really go back to my old guy, and I feel like I lost all this progress, and it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But New Vegas just was great, and actually it really turned me on to a lot of Paradox. Paradox's other games. Obsidian is, I think, the company.
The developer.
Yeah. I'm off somewhere. Hang on.
I think that New Vegas would be most people's choice, though. Out of
for
all
Fallout,
yeah, right.
Probably.
Yeah, people do not like 4.
People
They
did
don't
not
like 4,
like
but
it
it's
whenever
make
it
a
launched
Fallout.
because that was New Vegas was broken when it came out.
It was very broken.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Well,
I bought the collector's edition of New Vegas. I loaded it up because they told me, hey, Chandler Bing is going to be the dude that kills you or whatever. I'm like, done. I like Matthew Perry. And he literally started floating in midair and started his chair started twirling. I'm like, nope. And he just returned the whole
this
thing.
didn't happen in Friends.
You got a poker set or something with the collector's edition with that.
So I'm going to go back to the GameStop era, which is, even though I went to high school with Tyler, where I met Tyler was post high school at work. And number 14 is going to be Rocket League.
Oh, wow. And I can't believe that's not on my list.
Yeah.
I love that game.
I was so against playing Rocket League. It took the most convincing to get me in, and I got so addicted. We used to play that every night. Didn't matter after we got different jobs and people started to leave the company and stuff, because I stayed a lot later than I think pretty much everybody, with the exception of Kyle. I was there because I had, decided to keep moving up, and that was a horrible, horrible mistake. But
I think that is probably the closest to Call of Duty, where it's that is what you play. You get home and that's it's going to be Rocket League.
And it was super nice because at that point in time in our lives, we didn't have all that time together because some of us were working day jobs and some of us had night jobs. So you could get 3 or 4 games in the span of an hour and have a great time with your friends. Yeah. Once Rocket League started to die out, we replaced it with this game called PUBG.
Oh,
is that what's next on your
Yeah.
list?
What a
good
segue.
Yeah,
Man.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
That was fantastic.
So PUBG, once again, was just one of those games where it wasn't very good, but it explored a new type of game, and it really kind of, once again, where I envy Jeff of him, meeting new people and stuff online. I had that crew that I always played with, and this was kind of the game that brought everybody back together, because the people who didn't like Rocket League, they would play PUBG. So we actually had the point where we'd have 3 people and I don't even know, it wasn't Discord yet. What were we playing in, TeamSpeak or whatever?
Something.
And
Ventrilo.
Ventrilo, yeah.
Razor had one that Nate was really
Yeah.
Peddling.
I
It was
remember that.
Razors.
Oh, that was so bad.
But we would have, no joke, like everybody would be in there and we'd have like 4 different groups going and we'd all just be sitting there talking about stuff, and it was a great old time. Now we're all in, separate Discord servers, so we're not interrupting each other, but it was a good time. Getting back to, I guess, some of the other games that were more like a personal game, Gears of War 2, not so much for the multiplayer, even though I was addicted to the multiplayer, but R.I.P. Dom's wife. Like,
Oh yeah, that was rough.
that was like, if I ever was going to have like a moment in a video game where I was like, holy crap, like I might cry here, it was whenever he opens that pod and she's sitting there and he sees her, and then it cuts to how she actually is, because he's in shock as he sees his wife fall out of this thing, and she's just a husk of what she used to be. Like, she falls out, and I don't know if you remember, but he's like almost like daydreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's in her arms, she's healthy, he's like, oh my God, I found her. And then it like stops because it starts to become like too unreal, and you're like, holy crap, what's going on? And then it just like almost instantly just snaps you back to reality. It's like, she's dead. Like, he just found his wife's corpse.
That is the event that I remember from Gears of War.
And that's two games leading up to it. That's the thing, is I don't remember too many games that make you wait. And I think always in the back of your mind too, if they do make you wait, if I'm just forgetting a game, it's like, you're gonna find her, it's gonna be fine, like, or he's gonna sacrifice himself for her or something. And it's like, oh no, she's dead.
Yeah.
Spoilers, but it was just like, yeah, it's a shock where it's like in the back of your mind you think it's gonna turn one way and it just smacks you. Yeah.
Number 11 is going to be Mass Effect 1. I hated Mass Effect 2 only because I hated how they took this awesome open world RPG and turned it into an arcade. I don't know if you remember this because everybody forgets about this part, but they improved the visual overhaul of all of the areas you were in, but they were super condensed. And after every mission, you got a recap of the collectibles you found and the experience you earned and the dollars and the secret weapons you might have missed. And you took my open world RPG that I absolutely loved and you just sliced it up into little bits and said, here you go. Let's let all the people who don't appreciate this, enjoy this game too. And then you took the skill trees out and you were like, oh, you're going to have 4 orange bubbles and you can max out 2 of them and you can half another one. And there's only 4 options. So you're not really missing much, and it's going to make you feel really strong, but it's going to take you forever to fill those bubbles because we're going to give you 1 point to like put in. I want to stack them. I want my ability to be far superior than like one of my teammates because I really invested into sniping. Or I want to be a jack of all trades where I've got 4 in everything. So my guy only has like 1 ability from every tree, but I can do that. Nope. I had to pick this one thing and it was done. Like,
There's a reason I cop out. I did not list
there's
1
an
or
easier
2.
cop out. We'll get there.
Seems
Yes,
more of
there
a
is.
negative
Yes, there
for
is.
Mass Effect 2 than it was positive for Mass Effect 1.
that's true, but
Just shitting on 2.
all the games, all the Mass Effect games are great in their own right, with the exceptions of the last 15 minutes of 3.
Oh, man, dude.
But Mass Effect 1, it introduced you to this well fleshed out universe. You felt like you were Commander Shepard. Didn't matter what race, gender, whatever you were playing, you were Commander Shepard in that moment. And going back and playing it now, I kind of wish I wouldn't have, because you realize like there's a bunch of plot holes or like things that you missed that you were too young to get whenever that game first came out, that make it seem like really cheesy. But back in the day, it was like an epic. You know what I mean? It was like, holy crap. Like, my sister used to lock me out of my room because whenever that game first came out, we were like right on the cusp. So I was in the high school. She was in the elementary school. The elementary school was probably like 7 blocks from our house, whereas once again, the high school was a 40-minute walk. So she would get out of school before me and she would get home before me. And my bedroom door would be locked till about 9 p.m. because she'd be in my room with my Xbox playing Mass Effect and I'd be sitting outside like
Waiting.
Yeah. Top 10. Number 10, Halo 2. Halo 2, strictly for the multiplayer and the experience I had around it. I saved up my money, bought an original Xbox used from the exchange, and got a copy of Halo 2. I will go more into like kind of the background of my love of Halo upcoming, but I had a buddy named Devin. Devin lived 2.5 blocks away from my house. I would every Friday night after Halo 2 came out, take my Xbox down, go to Devin's house, barefoot, walking down the sidewalk with my Xbox and controller and cords in my hand. This was at like, the cusp of like AOL and like Craigslist.
Is there a reason barefoot? Like,
it's too lazy to put shoes and socks on. I was just so excited to get there. And everybody used to make fun of me for not showing up with shoes. But so
Became a whole
I'm
thing.
picturing that now, yeah.
so
Hate no shoes.
I specifically remember he used to ask his dad to drive him over. He'd go on Craigslist and you'd find people giving away like old TVs because the big boxy tube TVs, like flat screens, are starting to become a thing. So people would go and put them out on the curb because you can't recycle them. Nobody really wanted them because they weren't the new TV anymore. So this kid, he lived in a 2-bedroom house with his dad, his sister, and himself. So they had like this dining room that they put a bed sheet over, and the dining room was his bedroom. So his bedroom was super long and narrow, right? And so 4 TVs on one side, just big tube TVs, 4 tube TVs on the other side, and all the kids from the neighborhood who we were, in school together, and we all walked home from school together. We would take our Xboxes to Devin's house. We'd hook up and we'd LAN party the entire weekend. So Friday night we played, Saturday we played, Sunday I'd waddle home to go to church, go back to Devin's house, play Halo, and then unhook my Xbox so that we could, take it home and I could go to school the next day.
that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. It was literally like, it would be my number one if, I don't know, if there was something else to the game other than that experience with friends. Number 9 is Halo Combat Evolved. Halo Combat Evolved wasn't my first PC game, but it was my first real PC game, and it's what got me into PC gaming. I never got a gaming computer, like an Alienware or anything like that. I was actually, I guess, kind of lucky. My dad got addicted to learning about computers whenever they first started, becoming personal things. He used to collect old parts and he used to build them, and so you could do maintenance and repair and stuff like that. So we actually built my first computer together, and that was really cool. And I got a lot of people addicted into that, afterwards. but
Yeah, it kind of ruined me.
But Halo Combat Evolved was my first online shooter. It was also my first all-nighter on a video game. My cousin Garrett, we went to his house every year for New Year's, and we would stay overnight, and we would always play this horse racing game and stuff on the Atari with my Uncle Jimmy, and we would do these weird events. And I grew up in a super Christian household, so we used to every year watch Christmas Vacation. And they would always bleep out all the swear words. They would fast forward through them. And then the one almost not, I don't even think there's a nude scene in it, but there's one scene that's lewd, and they would fast forward through that scene. We would skip all those. That was the type of family I had. We didn't have alcohol. We had rainbow sherbet and Kool-Aid. It was just sugar.
Spicy.
Yeah. So
We had all the Bungie Halos between all of us.
yeah.
1, 2, 3 Reach.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. I don't know.
I respect the Reach pick a lot.
That's my prime of Halo. Is Reach. So
The best game I never beat, Jeff. Do you want to guess what it is?
The best game you've never beat.
Yeah.
Tyler, we have to play this with us. I feel so bad.
I do. Yeah.
You know what the great thing is? Jeff wants me to play it again.
I'm down. I
No,
will do
because
it.
there was a bet involved with playing it again, because I know he's not going to finish it with me.
Please tell us what this game is.
Divinity Original Sin 2. Or as I like to know, or was what I like to call it is everybody's introduction to Fort Joy over and over and over again.
I don't think you know something as well on this earth than Fort Joy. You could literally run a D&D session. Fort Joy. Play all the characters, get the dialogue perfect, every side quest, every secret item, everything perfectly.
Yep.
You have so many hours in Fortune.
Now, the reason for that is you're going to learn as we get higher up in my list that I very much love beating my head against brick walls and beating things that I have no experience doing. Like most people, whenever they play a game on hard, they usually play through it on a version. They get to learn the layout of the game first, and then they go back and they beat it again for the challenge because they like it. I started Divinity on like the Iron Man mode, which is you die and your save deletes and you start over. So I think the farthest I've made it is the beginning of chapter 3, which is the final chapter technically, but I haven't made it much past chapter 3.
You will not bait me into trying to play this game again.
Was that with me? Did we both make it the farthest? Yeah. And how did we die?
We went back to go and get something, and we went into the cellar.
Oh my fucking god, the cellar, dude. Dude, we were so strong.
The cellar.
Don't you want to play this?
Yeah, we were so strong. This is like EverQuest. Imagine years of building yourself up and you're this unstoppable force and you walk into this fucking cellar.
We were so strong.
Sounds terrible.
And there's this one area where you go into the cellar and this person has like a nightmare and like all of their like different nightmares come out and like manifest and they're like ridiculous. And so I die and I'm like, John, we can do this, but you need to run. He's like, oh, no, I got this. He runs in, he gets stunned and then just proceeds to not get a turn while the enemy just murders him. And we just sit there crying and laughing.
Had to watch.
John, name one other time that Nate has ever said run. And you don't run.
What?
In any video game I've ever played with Nate, ever.
Yeah.
Never is Nate saying like, hey, let's run the other way. Or,
That's what I'm saying.
hey, let's retreat to fight another
me
day.
to never run.
Yeah, well.
And it came back to bite
Yeah,
him.
but if that guy that conditioned you is telling you to run, you should have been gone an hour ago.
I couldn't believe that he would say such a thing.
Yeah, no, that's...
Oh, man.
You ready for a curveball?
Let's hear it.
Juice.
Far Cry 3.
Oh.
3. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Sure.
I respect that.
I loved Voss.
I think that's the best one, yeah.
Voss is the best villain in any game I've ever played, bar none.
Okay.
All right. We're all looking at the ceiling right now trying to ponder. Yeah.
I'm
Name
quite
a
ready to
villain
step through that
who
door.
was more relatable and yet so...
He was crazy.
He was, but he was crazy and relatable. Like you felt bad for him and then he would go off the deep end. Then he'd bring you back in and then he'd go off the deep end.
Joel?
Trying to tell he's not the villain.
Joel's not the villain.
Well, it's his interpretation.
Andrew Ryan.
And he's not relatable. Oh, you're saying best villain.
I think he's relatable.
I think Andrew Ryan is a good villain. I did not like BioShock enough to get, chains tattooed on my wrist.
I might say GLaDOS.
GLaDOS is hilarious, not the best villain.
GLaDOS is very good too.
She's a great villain, actually.
Relatable though?
She's not relatable, but she's a psycho.
Surprised this didn't make it into my top 5, but Tyranny.
Oh, wow. That is surprising. You love that game.
Tyranny is made by the people who made Fallout New Vegas, I believe. Same groups. They're Paradox Interactive, but I think it was also produced by Obsidian.
I wouldn't.
I'd have to go back and look, but I believe that was a tie. And Tyranny, you start out as the villain, and it's very hard to be the good guy. And I didn't realize this until after, I started going and like looking at forums and stuff that not many people actually found like the good path. Like there were like votes and stuff that people would do on Reddit, and the amount of people like at the beginning of the game, whenever it came out, like found like a way to not be the villain. It was insane. And because I really want you to play this game, I don't want to talk about like the most impactful moment for me, but it's all of the characters that you meet are great. Your relationships that you build with them are based off of the way you play the game. So like there will be games and they'll be like, oh yeah, if you act a certain way towards somebody, they'll leave your party and all this other stuff, but it's really hard and you always get a chance to convince them. No, these people actually like turncoat and try to murder you in the middle of like another fight. Like it's a really cool game. I think it got a bad rap because it didn't play like Pillars of Eternity and people were really kind of getting a high off that game. But just I named one of the characters, like one of the characters in that game is the name of one of my dogs. Like,
Yes, it is.
So like the lore in that game was great. And the one thing I really appreciated about that RPG too is anytime they brought up a piece of the lore, it would highlight. You could hover your mouse over the text and it would give you the history. But at the beginning of the game, you would actually go through like this conquest. So like I said, you start the game out as the bad guy. And you're like an emissary for his armies. So the first 2 years of the game are this like war room style, like push an army onto like a certain like city. And you would actually go through and you would choose like what cities you visited and what army you backed and what you let them do and things like that. And both of them were pretty, fucked up guys. Like they would, raise cities and like rape people. And like, it was intense, right?
Yeah.
But you had to like choose which one of them like to let take charge. And so in your game, whatever group you gave like control of a city would be the NPCs that you meet there. Or they would have these things called edicts, which this guy, think of him as like Xerxes from 300, except like god level magic, right? And so he would have these things called edicts, and your character would go and you would read one of these edicts. And basically if the edict wasn't fulfilled by the time the time limit came up, this like plague would fall upon the city that murders everybody inside of it. So you would go, and as part of like your story at the beginning, you would choose a city and go and read an edict, and that city is gone from the game. All the missions, all the interactions, everything there is just done. Like you could play a different game pretty much every time.
Cool.
This one, once again, just for the multiplayer, and it gave me my love of tactical shooters. Rainbow Six Vegas 2.
He was so good at this game, dude.
This was like, you remember when game battles was a thing?
Is this 5?
Yes.
So people used to, I changed my Xbox gamer tag in game battles once, and there was a hyphen missing, and they didn't want to play me so bad. Somebody called that out and got our team disbanded from this tournament because I was literally just like, I could literally go in on Rainbow Six on like these game battles games, and it doesn't matter if we had 5 people who were working in coordination with each other. I was doming all of them. Like there was something wrong with me. Like this game and me, we were like one. It was just, I've never been on such a power trip in a video game. Like, other than Rainbow, like it would be at the point where like there was this one, it wasn't like a shoot house, but it was they called it like crack house or clubhouse or something, and it was literally just 2 3-story buildings with bridges that went between them. It was a terrible map, but a lot of people would play it because they loved sniping from like the top roof, because you could see into the windows and people would go up to the top and you could just take them out. I would go up there with the Raging Bull revolver and I would pop people who were using sniper rifles, and I would just run back and forth on the
I'm
top.
literally getting PTSD. I'm just getting destroyed by this guy like over and over.
Most of the time you're on my team because Xbox Live was a thing at that point.
Yeah, but you'd always be like, John, let's like practice. Let's 1v1, blah, 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 blah,
Let's
and just
practice.
Raging Bull to the dome like every single time I walk up.
The next 3 are RPGs, and
What,
these are
what
my
number are we on?
So this is 3. This is 4, 3, and 2. Oh. These are all RPGs
There we go.
in order of my fondness for them. Fable: The Lost Chapters, Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines, Persona 4 Golden.
Let's hear it.
Solid.
Some high praise.
Solid.
So Fable: The Lost Chapters kind of takes that Morrowind feeling, and it took away some of the open world exploration, but gave me more of that magic system and that power system that I liked. And the story on it was very good, and I very much felt like a hero whenever you were playing through it. I liked the morality system of how like your character would change, and how like if you really wanted to be bad, you could do some evil stuff. Like you could go and sacrifice people to like a dark god to like, get a special bow and like gain their favor and stuff. It made the world feel alive, and it made kind of like what I like about D&D, where like it made interacting with like the different characters, even the ones that didn't exist in the game, feel like they existed in the game. Like none of the gods, you don't meet them in the game, but you could feel their impact. You know what I mean? Like it very much gave you that sense of wonder as you went through. The one thing I didn't like about it was the fact that all of the zones were really tiny and constrictive, and
Yes.
it did feel like it was on rails. And it kind of opened up whenever you got into the Lost Chapters, but not a ton. I also fucking love those doors. The doors that it would ask you like questions you'd have to bring stuff to, the ones that would like mock you as you walked by them. Like the doors were just amazing. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, the best supporting NPCs. Like, and they don't even always stick with you, but tell me you don't remember the Vorman sisters. Like,
I was so impressed by this game that plays so incredibly bad. Like, this is a game that has probably some of the worst combat I've ever played in my life, and it almost cracked my top 25 of all time. I think that says something about how good the rest of the game is.
I cannot convince anybody to play this game. I literally threw money at Jeff. I was like, Jeff, here, take money. You're not allowed to say no because I'm giving you money.
It was a good amount of money too, right?
It was like $60. Yeah. I gave Jeff $60. I said, here's a brand new game so that you can get some of your life back if you hate this. Play this game for me. And he was dreading it. And he was like, man, I don't even know if I'm going to like play this game. Like I might just like not do this. And he eventually, you know, I guess decided he had a pep talk with himself and he's like, I'm going to give it a shot. And I think you kind of hated it at first, didn't you?
The tutorial's tough to get through, but as soon as you get through the tutorial, it starts to really open up.
I don't even think that. I think like, so yes, the tutorial's super rough and it's real janky. And then you get in and you have to like find Mercurio and it's like, okay, like I don't care about this. You go and you beat up like the gangsters and you're like, okay, like who cares about this? I think it's as soon as you start talking to the Vorman twins.
And I think what also helped was I noticed right away that it was in the Source engine, which I love. So the Source engine from Half-Life, the Source engine from Counter-Strike, it has that same feel. That helped me a lot too, despite everything else.
I think the clans have a really good, like, you know, way about them. And how far are we over? Are we even going to be able to get to you?
Oh, I'll speed run it. I keep looking at the time and I'm like, I could do this.
You could have shut me up.
I could do this. No, you got two more. Go ahead.
Persona 4, favorite JRPG I've ever played. One game that I can go back and play endlessly. It's like my Rainbow Six of RPGs. Like I know like how to get like the best combinations and stuff, and I can go like on a power trip. But I love all of the characters and the interactions, and everybody has a really big weight to them. I also very much like very dark storylines, and Persona 4's is kind of rough.
No.
And then number one. Might be a surprise, might not be a surprise, but Escape from Tarkov.
Are you fucking serious?
Yes.
I mean, where do you think it had to be on the list, right? Like, where do you think it was going to be?
I literally told Nate about this game, and he was like, John, that sounds like the dumbest game I've ever heard in my life. Then a year later,
number one.
All he plays. Number one, yeah.
I was praying it wasn't his number one.
I was too.
There was zero chance. As he was going up, and then he was like, the next three are RPGs. I'm like, all right, well.
There it is, yeah. All right, sorry, go ahead. Why is it the best for you?
As we kind of go through, like there are some games where like the story hits really hard for me, but I love, once again, just beating my head against the wall and, you know, going through like those different conditions. And you talk about League being your number two because there's more lows than there are highs, but those highs are real high. That's Tarkov. I love going in and being down and some dude having this crazy gear. Like I think the moment it clicked for me, because I did have like everybody I think has a rough first and second wipe. I don't think anybody has a successful first or second wipe unless they've played something very similar to this before. And I remember I was at like the end of the second wipe and everybody has all this crazy gear. And I'm sitting here with this little Russian crappy ass pistol and I'm sitting around sneaking around in the dark because these guys are all like geared up and they have like night vision and stuff, and I'm like, I'm just trying to get some loot so I can afford to buy gear so I can get in my next raid. And this player just gunned down these two dudes completely kitted out and nobody saw him, and he's sitting there and he comes up and he sees me and I'm like, well, fuck, I'm dead. And I just hear pop, 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 and he breaks my leg and I just turn around with this tiny ass little pistol and I right in the dome. He drops because no matter what, headshots a kill in Tarkov, unless you have some sort of like face shield or whatever, every bullet raw can murder you from the get-go. So I hit this dude right between the eyes. He drops. I walk out with all his shit. I'm set for like ever. And ever since then, it's like, okay, like I need this feeling.
Been chasing that high.
Yeah. And it happens a lot more frequently now, but it's I just love I very much love like the gritty like give and take. And now that they added like the VoIP and you can actually like talk to people and people can be like, hey man, like I really need this. Like once upon a time I had, the idea that I was going to stream like a couple of nights a week. And so I was streaming on Twitch, and I was talking to this dude. He's like, hey man, I'm trying to get like this quest. And I was like, oh yeah, there's a key in that room. It's underneath the brown jacket. He's like, it's not there. It's like, oh, well, it spawns there all the time. It doesn't spawn there all the time, but there's a couple other places. Do you mind if I show you? He's like, yeah, can you come in? So I'm like talking to him, and then some guy like, screams some slur down the hallway, and I murder him. And he's like, oh man, blah, 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 blah. And then I turn around and was like, oh, by the way, I need shotgun kills.
There it is.
That's not where I thought that was going.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is like I put me under your
Jeff
wing type
seriously
of
like
thing.
he's like, yeah, my whole wedding party was because of World of Warcraft, and Nate's like, yeah, dude, I met this guy and then I killed him.
But
Awesome
it's
list.
just, I don't know. The interactions are fun.
Interesting. That's a pretty good list. I think all of our lists have like a lot of different.
We have not had a lot of overlap either.
I'm surprised how little overlap.
What did we have? We had Battlefront 2, Persona 4,
Halo.
Nate and I.
I guess not technically not Halo.
Maybe some Mass Effect in there.
Mass
No, he had
Effect's,
one.
across the
You
board.
had two, right?
I had
you
one and
both.
two.
It doesn't count. You have to pick one.
1A, 1B.
You make him pick Pokemon, but not Mass Effect.
It's
Pokemon's
one,
sick,
right, Jeff?
dude. You can't. not
Pokemon's
do that.
literally the same game.
If you had to pick one, it would be one.
It would probably be one.
Oh, Jeff,
I know.
you disappoint me.
I know.
All right, on that note,
All right,
Tyler, go
you
ahead.
boys ready? We're gonna fly.
No.
We're gonna fly.
No, dude, let's get it.
First off, I have two runner-ups to the runner-ups that I gotta get off my chest. One, Brink.
The
I think
movie.
we've talked about Brink plenty on this.
I think we'll have to have a
podcast,
Brink
but
conversation at dinner. But
I
yes.
am
You never
shocked.
heard of Brink, Jeff?
That's not on your
the
list.
Disney movie where the inline skating.
No.
Yeah, I
Brink
love
is
that
a-
movie.
Brink is a shooter. It's a whole thing. Anyway, that will always be a fondness.
You should make Jeff play that.
Yeah,
I don't even think you can. The servers are down and it was
I
online
think
only.
I think you can.
You can make him play through the
I think
single
we can.
player.
Anyway,
We'll have to find out.
Brink's good.
All right.
This is not a good start for my rapid fire.
Nope.
Second, Soul Fighter, Dreamcast. I told my mom, hey, Mom, I want Soul Calibur. She comes back. She comes back from the Kmart with Soul Fighter. Oh, no. It's not good. Don't buy it. Like, don't play it, but it will forever be. I just laughed. Like, normally as a kid, if your mom comes back with
Super
something.
disappointed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, like, I couldn't.
That's
It
hilarious.
was hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny.
And in my mind, I'm just like, okay, I don't want to hurt her feelings. And like it was, but then she found out that like, oh, this is the wrong one. And then she got it was a nice moment. Anyway, all right, got some other ones for you: Cookie Clicker, Dead Space 2, Hero Academy, Rocket League, Twisted Metal 3, which Twisted Metal 2 is better than 3, but 3 you could put in and you have a Rob Zombie soundtrack. It's a whole thing. Left 4 Dead, Halo 3, Mod Nation. Nope, sorry, Mod Nation Razor has moved on. Let's replace that with Animal Crossing, New Horizons.
This is all honorable mention.
This is all honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Uno, Battlefield Bad Company 2, StarCraft 2, DMC, Devil May Cry, so the DMC version. Mark of the Ninja, Bioshock Infinite, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Tom Clancy, Splinter Cell, Blacklist, No Man's Sky, Superhot, Ori in the Blind Forest, Dead Cells, Doom Eternal, Horizon Zero Dawn, Middle Earth, Shadow of War, Gears of War 2, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Blacklist almost made it into my list for one interaction solely with Tyler. And at the end of that game, there's a co-op game and the standard game. At the end of the co-op game, you spend all this time working together and something happens. And so that I don't take too much more of Tyler's time, I'll just let him talk about it if he wants or bypass it if he doesn't. But
Go ahead. It's fine. This is only an honorable mention.
at the end of the game, you both characters get a text that says kill the other person, except they don't tell you that. So we're on Xbox Live. We just got on this plane. We just finished the mission. We think the game's over. And Tyler goes, Nate, did you get a message?
Nate's dead silent. It's like, oh, this is how it's gonna be. This is the most it was so good. It was so much fun. Anyway, honorable mention.
Who won?
Very, very good.
I think Tyler.
I think I won.
Yeah.
I
I'm
can
very
always
impatient.
be. Yeah, I can I will hide in a corner and wait.
I'm sorry to stop you again, but you also put Cookie Clicker
Yes.
as an honorable mention.
Yeah.
So you spent a decent amount of time with this.
I think Cookie Clicker might, next to the indie movie, Cookie Clicker might be my most played Steam game. Like days and days and days and days. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? As an idol, you just leave it go. But like, I don't think I've ever left my computer. I normally shut my computer down or put it to sleep. That bad boy ran for. That's partially why I had to get a new. No, that's. Oh, I will say that's why I had to get a new mouse, because I beat the heck out of my mouse because I was clicking so fast. Like I put it down and like just kind of vibrate my hand on it. Yeah. Anyway, let's go into the real list here in the 15 minutes I have. Starting at number 25, I'm going to say Grandia 2. Everyone has an RPG on their list. I'm going to put Grandia 2 on there. I was talking Grandia 2 for the better part of a year and a half until I got John to play it. Turns out, not the greatest game that really exists, but the combat system was amazing. And as a kid, this was kind of my first, I guess, viewing in a video game where like people like died and people were like killing themselves over stuff, and like team members were dying, and it was just like it hit me in a way that other games obviously never did up to that point. So that will always be in there. Number 24, Tekken 3. My cousins bought Tekken 1. I played that. I had to wait plenty of years till I could afford my own PlayStation entertainment system. So I bought my PlayStation and I bought the newest Tekken, which was Tekken 3. Turns out one of the best Tekken games ever made. Love it. That's the fighting game on my list. My MMO, which I didn't do this on purpose, but I do have a kind of a genre smattering. Number 23 is going to be Star Wars Galaxies. Before they ruined it. Back when like not every person could be a Jedi. It was just random in a box. And if your Jedi died, it died and you never got it back. And just being able to be in the world and be your own thing. I know I've talked about it a million times on the podcast, but like it had to be on the list. Is it a good game? No. Like if you watch it now, not super great, but you can see a lot. Like if you put the interface of Star Wars Galaxies next to the interface of New Republic Old Republic, very similar. So it is what it is. Anyway, very good game. Number 22. Now I feel bad because this one kept going down the list. Dwayne kind of made me rethink it. Number 22, we're going to put Bloons Tower Defense 6. It's a mobile game. It's a great Steam game. It could go higher. I think I have more attachment to other games. However, what a fantastic game. Jeff, I hear you never played it.
Never heard of it, never saw it, never played it.
That's shocking.
It's such a good game and it does so much that John's brand spanking new computer with like the 3080 in it,
3080, yep.
literally shut down because it was like, there's too much going on. We can't do this. And it just, it's so good. Number 21, Spyro the Dragon. Now I originally had the Reignited trilogy on here. I never played 2 and 3 as a kid. No love of that. I went back after you kind of called it out. I was like, oh, I saw you had the remake versus the original. And I put the new dragons, which I thought they were really well done, next to the old dragons. Too much nostalgia. Put it back to Spyro the Dragon. Like that was the original one. I can, with the inflections in my voice of all the dragons, it was as a kid, that was it. Number 20, BioShock, the original. I could flip-flop BioShock and BioShock Infinite. I do like Infinite because it made me stay up till like 4 a.m. researching quantum physics. Because I was like, what? Like, what's going on? Yeah. But when it came down to it, BioShock, the environment and stuff, and when you think about it, when it's like, oh, we're going back to, like underwater and stuff, like that was kind of cool. So I give it to BioShock.
And those first like 10 minutes.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Andrew Ryan's a great thing. Yeah. Like I think the whole like twist at the end and everything, like it was such a good, well done thing. Really, really thought it was neat. Number 19. So this is the one that I swapped. Animal Crossing used to be here. And then as you guys were talking and as we talked about Mario Kart, I literally did this while we were talking. I'm putting Mod Nation Racers up officially on my top 25. number 19. And the main reason being is this, out of all the games, this is the game that lets me be artistic and creative. And because Mod Nation Racers was a PlayStation game where you literally made your racer, you made your kart, you made your track. And the amount of, you could make anything. So it was Iron Man racing, Mario racing, like literally anything. It was so good. Number 18, Neon White. I'm trying to get everyone to play Neon White. Neon White, I think, is the most modern, or the newest game, I should say, on my list. But that game, I am not a speedrunner whatsoever. I don't like leaderboards because I'm never any good at them. But man, Neon White is pretty good, and it makes you feel really good. It makes you want to see where you are against other people. Am I flying too fast? Do you have any questions so far? I don't want to.
No, man, keep going. You're rolling.
Right,
great.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Number 17, Warcraft 3. So that's my RTS. It beat out StarCraft. I was never a big StarCraft guy. Warcraft. Loved Warcraft. Loved the story. So Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. 3 was just kind of the big crescendo of everything. This was my
new one, right?
The Warcraft.
Oh,
no, don't even get me started on that one. No, Reforged is a piece of garbage. Warcraft 3 was my notebook game. So I have a notebook of grid paperwork, because there was a map editor, you can make your own stuff. So that's when I was literally drawing out my bases, doing the little math problems of, okay, it's going to take this much time to do this. And I love that game. That was such a good game. Number 16, Pokemon Blue. So that one, I was with you guys. That was life for a good while. Definitely Pokemon Blue on that one. Number 15 is Beat Saber. This is a game. So it was between. So you mentioned Guitar Hero. I liked Rock Band. I was more on the Rock Band side of things. But when I really thought about it, I was never playing Rock Band so much that I got better at it. Really. Where Beat Saber, I don't know, Chelsea was out of town one day, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do Beat Saber, and I'm going to play this every single day until I get better. And then that was the only game I can really think of where I just saw a steady progression of just better. It was really good. Number 14 is Borderlands 2. So that's my game of, at the time, the humor hit, the gameplay hit, the loop hit, the playing with friends. This was the game that I would always come back to and be like, why do we ever stop playing this game? It was really fun. Yeah, and then we played it again. Then we dropped off it again. And we came back to it. It was the expansion's really fun. So many great characters. I really liked it. Number 13. So this is where it gets a little iffy. I put Sea of Thieves here. So Sea of Thieves, I think, is my longest played game out of all games, aside from Indie Movie. And I wanted to put it higher, and there is plenty of emotional connections there. I think the thing that kept it out of maybe necessarily the top 10 was more of the game itself is it's fine. You have high highs, low lows, things like that, but it's not the game that's really keeping me there. So in terms of games, it's well, okay, the experience is there, but I enjoyed it with friends, but the gameplay, if the gameplay was better, I'd probably go higher. But the main reason why it's even in the mid tier is literally just friends and emergent stuff and the gameplay there. Couldn't tell you the storyline. All right, number 12, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is a video game. Just the best game. It is. There are so many systems and so just hilarious, wacky, funny things. Jeff, have you played it?
Can I be honest with you? I've played it, but I got scared of being on that floating.
Okay.
I have a fear of vast waters, and being on a large
Oil rig
scared me. And it's so weird to say that, but that's your home base.
Yeah.
So
you're always going back.
So going back to home base where you're supposed to be safe, and I was terrified of being on the oil rig. I have a lot of very irrational fears, and that's one of them.
I think it's crazy that those fears manifest in a game where you know you're safe.
Yeah, it just happens. I mean, but
I remember I put out a tweet or maybe a group chat, and I was like, which one of what of my backlog needs to be moved up? And I do remember you saying Metal Gear Solid 5 needs to be way closer.
I've never played another Metal Gear game. I don't want to go back and play any of the other Metal Gear games. I couldn't really even tell you the story of this one, and as I understand it, it's not really like the best of the stories. But again, just purely out of a gameplay, and this is honestly why I felt okay keeping Splinter Cell down, is because they're kind of the same thing in terms of like the stealth shooter. Metal Gear is just leaps and bounds. Like Splinter Cell's tight. This thing is just another level. It's so good. All right, so number 11 is God of War. So God of War did not make my top 10. I thought that was worth mentioning. I love God of War. If you catch me at a different day, probably could.
2018.
If you caught me at 2018, God of War would be
well,
up
I'm
there.
just saying it's 2018 version.
I'm sorry. Yes, the 2018 version. What a phenomenal, just amazing game. Number 10, Titanfall 2.
Wow,
Yes.
I'm shocked that's not higher.
I've been giving a lot of thought. Titanfall 2, in my mind, is a perfect shooter. I think the campaign is phenomenal. I think the multiplayer is better feeling than any other multiplayer out there. Call of Duty, I don't care. Like the movement, the way you run, the plays you can do, the mind games you can do. Name another game where it feels like you're in a giant mech and it still feels like you're just playing any old Call of Duty. Like it's fluid, it's quick, it's not like cumbersome. It's fun to be a pilot, it's fun to be a mech. You never feel outgunned or at a disadvantage with either. In fact, sometimes like normally it's like, oh, they have a mech and you're like, I'm up for the challenge, let's go. Oh, what a great game. If anything, the travesty there is EA fumbled that one. Number 9 is Pyre. Pyre was really good. I love the story of Pyre. I wish it was voice acted. Watching John play it again made me super like. It's by Supergiant.
That's the only Supergiant game I haven't played.
It's very, very good. I think it's way better than Transistor personally, but like Pyre is awesome. Definitely recommend it. I don't want to spoil anything then, but there are some moments in Pyre where like watching John's reaction for the first time, knowing it's coming and just waiting, and he did not disappoint. Some of the best writing, some of the best, like, just it really hits you in the feels. And that's kind of the theme from like my top 10, right? So Titanfall felt really good. Pyre felt really good emotionally. Number 8 is Journey. Thought it would be higher too. Journey has one of the best moments I've ever had in a video game, like literally crying. I still choke up when I think about that moment of like going up the hill and doing it, like amazing. You were not to be like, oh, I have Journey memorabilia too. I bought one of the 400 statues that Sony did or whatever. Yeah. Journey's so good. Number 7, Portal 2. Again, watch John play Portal 2. Not a puzzle guy, but you gotta admit the writing, the humor, the
characters are so good. Amazing in that game.
And it's a puzzle game.
Yeah.
Like name another puzzle game that's like, oh yeah, the characters drive it and the story is good.
Hate puzzle games.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is pretty good.
It's amazing. Okay, number 6, Super Mario World. I still maintain out of all the games, so I've listed 50 games. Well, I will list 50 games here. 52 if you count Brink and Soul Fighter. I think out of all of them, I can confidently say Super Mario World is a perfect game. Perfect game meaning at whatever it set out to do, it executed flawlessly. If you play it now, it plays just as well now as it did back then. I don't care any other game. There's some, maybe it didn't play well. And again, if you go another 10 years, it's going to still play just as well, where all this other stuff might be a little bit different. Super Mario World, just phenomenal. I could have said Super Mario All-Stars and got like all the Mario games in there, but I wanted to stick with my guns that like Super Mario World, I got it on Christmas, was not expecting that at all. That was my emotional, like, and it's a phenomenal game. Number 5, Hades. I'm going to bring that guy up from all these honorable mentions and say Hades is just a fantastic game. How many games literally redefine the genre and now everyone's going to be going after Hades? If you took the story out, if you took the voice acting out, if you took like a lot of the artwork, the music, if you took let's say you take the narrative out of Hades probably wouldn't even be in my top 25. But the fact that you can weave the narrative in with the gameplay, it skyrocketed it. And I always not pride myself, but I always say like I'm gameplay first If it has a good story, great. But man, what a fantastic game.
Yeah, you talk about like I know Jeff was big on aesthetics.
Yeah,
That probably like one of the best.
I think on any given day, Hades could definitely crack my top, like at least 25 to.
it's
10.
masterful. It's a master class in everything that it does. And I think that John made a good point where it's like as you look at the Supergiant games, you see this progression of like Pyre was amazing, and then Hades just goes one step further because now everyone's voice acted and they're done well, like really well, like so good.
There's no right to be that good.
Yeah. And especially when you look at the voice cast and you're just like, oh, this guy does him, her. Like it's like,
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4, Mass Effect Legendary. No, I'm kidding. So
I thought you were going to do that.
so I have it in parentheses because I wanted to make the joke, but no, Mass Effect 2. That is my Mass Effect. I will go on the record again saying that. I will say, and I struggle with this one because Mass Effect 3 was the one that made me feel at the end where I was like lost and depressed and looking for answers and stuff.
Yeah.
So that when I think of Mass Effect, that's my first thought is technically Mass Effect 3. But as far as a game goes, Mass Effect 2 is the thing that made me love it. And I apparently played a ton of 1. Like I went through every character and did all the achievements and everything, but yeah, Mass Effect 2. All right, number 3. So 1, 2, 3. So 3, Diablo 3. That is my comfort zone. That is my League of Legends, if you will, where I just go back to it and I'm just like, okay, it's a new season, cool. I'll play this for a day and I love it. I cannot wait for 4. Diablo 3 is amazing. Don't care about the story. It's just the gameplay loop. I want to be very clear there. Okay, number 2, Batman Arkham City. So, 1 and 2 could keep flipping. Batman Arkham City, I'm a huge Batman fan. Out of all the superheroes, I don't care about any other superhero. I'm not a Marvel guy. I'm not a DC. I'm literally Batman. That is it, period. And then to take Batman the Animated Series and get Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and everyone I grew up with and put them into Arkham Asylum and Arkham Asylum be amazing. And then it's like, let's just take Arkham Asylum and do everything just better. Arkham City was phenomenal. They got away with so much in the story. The ending was amazing. The boss fights were amazing. It was the perfect Batman game for a Batman fan.
I was gonna say, I was talking about like Sly Cooper, the best jump from 1 to 2. In that category, I think would be.
I think that'd be a great top 5.
Arkham to City is like it's the same thing. Like just expand, like everything better, everything across the board.
And like you had like Catwoman is like the DLC and stuff. Catwoman was actually like kind of awesome to play as. Like she was still good.
Are you gonna play Knights?
I will. I mean I don't have a huge high hope for that, but yes, I will play Knights. We'll see.
I don't have a huge high hope either.
Yeah, but hey, it's multiplayer. Maybe that's a different way of bringing like, hey, you got the combat now, you have to do things. And then number 1, probably not a surprise, Call of Duty 4. I will say I have a lot of fond memories of World at War. I almost put that up there because I love the zombies, and me and my buddy Chris put countless hours in college doing that stuff for like that. That was like the all-nighter type thing. I think that was amazing. Modern Warfare 2 is really, really great, but Modern Warfare 2, I started to like not be good at Call of Duty. That was like where I just dropped off a cliff. I'm like, oh, I'm old. But Call of Duty 4 was where I felt good, right? I was cracking the headshots. I was getting all the headshot camos and the deagles and everything. That was when I felt as sweaty as one could be. So that will always, and the maps are amazing, right? Like that. And the reason why Modern Warfare 2 is great is when they started bringing all the COD 4 maps in. I just think COD 4 was my Call of Duty. All right. Any questions?
It's a good list, man.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's over everything, right? You got the racer, the fighter,
Yes.
the RPG. Everything.
I think the Tekken was one of the most surprising for me.
Tekken was
no Super Street Fighter 2.
He talks about Tekken a lot, so I know that's like his. I feel like everyone has that fighting game, whether it's Soul Calibur, Tekken, Street Fighter.
Soul Calibur.
I think it's kind of cool to go through like the list, and I really like that you pulled this specific idea together, like Jeff said at the beginning, because it looks like, a lot of John's list leads back to his childhood and his nostalgia with those games that he grew up with. A lot of Jeff's are his, like, almost like a story of like the different stages of his life and just kind of like how they impacted him at that point in time. Your list is a lot of like, okay, well, I really enjoy this genre and my podcast could actually be about this stuff. But I very much appreciate the game and the developer. Like you very much are like, okay, I don't think you've said a single one where it's like, oh, I love this for the story. It's like, this is the part about this game that I liked, and this is what I really liked about the evolution of this industry, which I think is really cool. And then I don't know if I actually had like anything that was like set, because I was kind of like, okay, this one was about the experience, or this one's about the people I did it with, or this one's about the characters. But like, it's kind of cool how like your list reflects like how you kind of grew up and what your interests are, and like, how this kind of shaped you as a person, where some people had a little bit more of an impact on like their personal life, while other people, it's, I don't want to say it's more of a hobby, because, that makes it sound kind of disingenuous, but it definitely is different for everybody.
No, I thought the comparing each and everyone's list was super duper fun, and I'm super thrilled that there was so little overlap. I cannot believe how little overlap there was.
I was about to bet a cheeseburger that we wouldn't have 10 of the same games, and I think I might have won that if I would have said that out loud. Like, there wouldn't be 10 games that match on the list.
Yeah, we'll have to put the games on our like our top 5 list or whatever. Oh,
Yeah,
our
we could do
lists
that.
and like
Yeah, we
put
could get
them
that in
next to each other. Yeah,
Yeah, if you
'Cause
send
I
them
think
to me, I
it'd be
can put it
cool.
up.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I just like echoing what Nate said. I think going the favorite route instead of best is just, it opens up the door for so much more conversation as to those little moments or what a game means to you. And it just, I talked about Roller Coaster Tycoon. You know what I mean? Like you guys talked about your create a car and drive it down the road game that's Japanese. Or, you know what I mean?
I think we need to visit
I looked
Japan,
it up,
right?
and that one, I think I was showing you that was imported into North America by Atlas.
It's insane.
So you have to know it's like a decent RPG because it's Atlas.
That it is a extremely popular series in Japan.
The people who brought that over are the people who do like Persona.
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
too.
Atlas, yeah.
No.
It's a good game. It's there's all these typos. It's so funny. But my favorite part is just listening to everyone and like the personal stories attached to like these games, right? I mean, that's what it's all about, right? This medium is just so important to so many people. And, it's so fascinating to me that, it's not the best game ever made, but I have this attachment to it because we played it all weekend and that's all we did. And, that was like the summer of our childhood and things like that, right? And meeting, people who you actually have a relationship with now, I think is super amazing. And, things of that nature. So I just think it's super cool to get into all that stuff because everyone has that story. Everyone who's a gamer, like they have those stories.
I think it's kind of crazy because I know who the guy in New York is, and I met him at Dwayne's Cookout. I had no idea that they weren't like friends from school or something. I didn't realize that was a World of Warcraft relationship.
Friends from Azeroth.
Gligus.
All right, well, we're way too long. You can't say we didn't make up for the lost time, though.
Yeah, sorry, I was speeding.
Tyler, why don't you send us out because your cats are murdering me?
They're murdering? Okay, no. So what killed Jeff? Jeff, you want to plug your stuff first?
You can find me over at Twitch at twitch.tv at @WhatKilledJeff, at Twitter at WhatKilledJeff, YouTube What Killed Jeff, and what's the other one?
TikTok.
Thank you. What Killed Jeff.
Oh, you're on TikTok? Fuck yeah. All right.
Okay. No, but we're starting. I stream Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we're starting Eastern Standard Time. We're starting Cyberpunk on Monday. So seeing the resurgence of that game after the anime release. I lost my Mori save today during stream. So if you want to see some dramatic reactions, go watch that VOD and hope to see you over there. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here, man. For us, you can go to couchcompany.games. All our stuff is there. We got some new. Linktree did some weird stuff, so now you can actually like listen to the podcast directly on there, which is kind of cool. But we have our top 5s, we have our game ratings, we have our Steam curators, we have Twitch, YouTube, the whole shebang, and then Twitter at CouchCo Games.
Someday our Let's Play of Balloon Tower Defense 6 will be completed.
Someday.
We'll get Jeff on there.
We'll get Jeff, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it. So as John Perez says, something about same time and same place, and we promise we will actually be here next week. So thank you for listening and bearing with us. We'll have one in the next week, and then I don't know. Peace.